Okay, all right. Hello, everybody. We're back again. So today we are doing the thing. We're talking about Return of the King, the final film in the Lord of the Rings trilogy of films. So this film came out in 2003. It was the much anticipated final film. People were wondering, okay, like, you know, we saw this first film, we saw the second film, but like, how epic is this ending going to be?
Mm.
Are they going to stick the landing or multiple landings? And yeah, I mean, it came out. It was very, very popular. It won
Just
like
a little
11
bit,
Oscars.
Yeah, it took 11 Oscars sweep, clean sweep, as
Yeah.
Steven Spielberg said.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
annihilated the competition.
Annihilated the Yeah. It was like, I mean, considering the fact that it basically was almost never nominated in the other years, this was kind of like making up for that in a way, because like every single one of these films is really good. And I have to look at the nominations and see if it was nominated for like best picture, best director. I think it was probably maybe like the other two were maybe nominated for best picture, but that was like about it. Plus I think like in the first one Ian McKellen got nominated for like best supporting actor.
I hope so. He's really good in the first movie.
Yeah. But yeah,
I mean,
so
he's good in all of them, but
yes, including even the Hobbit films.
Tried.
Yeah. So yeah, this film was very, very successful. And can you guess like how? So in terms of box office,
oh god,
when this movie came out, in terms of like the worldwide record. So when its release was over, how high do you think it was? Do you think it was top 10? Do you think it was top 5? Do you think it was number 1? Where would you guess this film landed at the end of its release, its original release?
I'm trying to think of what else could have been competing with it. That's the thing. I was so. At least 2 Harry Potter movies had to have been out.
Yeah, by this time, Harry Potter, we're at like maybe Harry Potter the third film or the second film.
Okay.
Well, yeah, I think it was the third film.
I don't know. I feel like Lord of the Rings kicked its ass.
Yeah, this one did, I would say.
I'm going to say it's in the top. I want to say it's number 1, but I want to say it's in the top 5. But again, I'm not sure what else is coming out that year.
No, top 5 would be correct. So this film was like, once its run was over, this film was the second highest grossing film of all time.
Was it a Star Wars movie?
Number 1 was Titanic, still at this point.
Really? Still not number 1? Oh, well, yeah, because we're only like, what, 4 years out from
we're 4 years out from Titanic. This is a totally different universe.
Totally different. Well, I feel like movies used to stay in theaters longer when we were kids.
Oh, they absolutely did. I mean, Titanic was in theaters for like 8 months.
That's insane. That would never happen today. I don't care how popular a director or story is. That would never happen today. That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it came out in December, and then it basically played until like May of the next year of '98, and it's
not
just
surprising. Wow, it makes sense that it only came second to a James Cameron movie, his most epic movie. Well, depending on who you talk to. Pardon me. I'm very happy I was right about the top 5 though, because I was like, again, I was just like, it doesn't feel like it would be number 1. Something was telling me it couldn't have been number 1, but also it's competing with a movie that had already been out for 4 years, which I think is hilarious and insane. Oh, that's pretty cool. Good,
and it was
Peter Jackson.
The second film ever to make $1 billion.
That's crazy.
So this film was like insanely successful. Like basically unheard of success for a film of this caliber. And
nobody had to work again.
Right. I mean, this
merchandise, not even just the movie, merchandise, like new editions of the books, like action figures, like all of the shit, like.
I remember, like, I forget where it came from. It was probably because I like subscribed to a lot of different like magazines that had to do with video games or Magic the Gathering, these fantasy trading card games. But they would send you these like booklets that had all these different Lord of the Rings related items that you could order. So you could get a replica of Sting. You could get a replica of a sword or a shield, or all types of props from the movie. So yeah, they were selling everything, and the video games were actually really good. They had these sort of like hack and slash, sort of video games that came out for the PS2. They were really good.
Yeah, I think one of my siblings had a video game. I don't know which one it was. I couldn't tell you, but they had at least one Lord of the Rings video game.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, this was a massive. I mean, it's this was like before. I feel like this was a little bit before the like we're in a time now where it's just IP-apalooza. Like it's just every IP. You just throw something, see if it sticks. I feel like the perfect example of this is Netflix did a show Wednesday.
Yeah, like everyone's been telling me to watch it. I really just don't want to.
It's fine.
I heard it's fine. Yeah, I've heard it's good. I've heard it's fine. I watched about 30 seconds of it, and I'm like, I can't watch this. I'm too old for this shit.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, I feel like the demographic is, well, I mean, at this point, everyone watches it. Pretty much every demographic of people, but like the core demographic is like teenage girls, I'd say.
I'm sure that's fine. They need their shows too. That's why we had Sabrina the Teenage Witch. That's why we've had like dozens of like Riverdale or Rivendell. Like no, Rivendell is completely different. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
But like I'm just not interested personally.
Yeah, I mean, to me that's the core demographic of the show, because it's about teenagers at basically a boarding school, And
which I also can't relate to either. Yeah. I'm just like, I mean, totally. I watched Harry Potter, but that was completely different. Like, I feel like that's totally different. I've also never been very interested in the Addams Family either, so that might be also why I don't care all that much. I'm just like, wasn't a part of my childhood.
They do some fun stuff with her, and I think the actress's performance is fun. But like if that show became as popular as that is, and again, it's just like taking this IP and just doing like a murder mystery with it. Like, people's eyes at these studios are like, oh, well, we have this IP, so we could do this with it. Let's try it. And then you just try all kinds of stuff.
It makes me sad. I hope that they're not just completely ignoring original storytelling, because it is very saturated with like old IPs, and it just kind of makes me crave something new and original, like that I just feel like I'm not getting, which is why I really enjoyed the first season of Raised by Wolves, because I was like, this is finally feels like an original, like even though there's elements of it that feel familiar to me, like, and the storytelling is I wouldn't say predictable, but the storytelling is very familiar. I'm just like, finally, something fucking original. Like, I'm just sick of like, don't get me started on the Jurassic World movies. I'm just like, ugh, God, gag me with fucking.
I know, it feels so, like Jurassic World especially felt so derivative. I remember watching that and being like, oof, this is.
Can I tell you like something kind of completely?
And I'm the person who likes the Lost World. I remember like when I saw the Lost World as a kid, I was like, yeah, I'm happy. I didn't like it as much as Jurassic Park, but like I liked it.
I don't think it's a horrible sequel. I think there's some questions that aren't answered, and I think there's some holes in it. But I don't hate Lost World. I really, really don't. I hate the third one. I absolutely hate the third one.
The third one has a lot of problems.
I hate what they did to Alan Grant, and it just makes me very, very mad. And he's just this curmudgeon. And it's just like, I mean, I get why he doesn't want to go back to the fucking island. That's totally understandable. But the rest of it is just kind of like, meh.
Yeah. And those
love Sam Neill. I just love Sam Neill.
Yeah, no, he's great. Yeah, you were saying something about. You were about to say something.
Yeah, I saw Jurassic World 3 times in the theaters.
Yeah, I saw it like
I'm not proud of that fact.
I saw it once, and
it was a boring summer.
I was like, man, this because the movie was doing really well, and people were like, because like again, I can get it. I was there in '93 when that movie came out, and it was unbelievable, you know, and like having that experience of seeing these dinosaurs brought to life in a thrilling way is very powerful. Like I can tell you myself, like that film has some resonance, and I can understand like a different generation of people having that same resonance. Because you know,
and I don't begrudge anyone that.
Yeah,
if this is your
totally,
if this is your Jurassic Park, if this is how, if like, there's even a kids show about these kids being left on the island after the first Jurassic World movie. Like, there's a kids show that Ryan's kid like absolutely like is into. And I'll watch it with them, and I'm just like, okay, I mean, it's not my thing, but if this is their thing, if this is their Jurassic Park, then that is great, and I'm super happy for you. I personally think it's trash, but that's just me. I'm not going to tell them that. I'm not going to tell them that I think this is trash. I want them to be they're interested in dinosaurs, and that's all I care about.
And that's
like, if
to be honest,
kids into that, then like, okay, I'm not going to be a jerk about it.
Yeah, and that's the actual secret of like what the Jurassic franchise is about. It's just a dinosaur franchise. It's just a
monster. Like, I mean, in the book, they're absolute monsters. These are terrifying creatures, which I don't think how terrifying the dinosaurs are in the book is translated onto screen the same way. And I'm fine with that. I'm totally fine with the fact that the T-Rex is scary, don't get me wrong, but in the book, it is the descriptions of how it smells, how it looks is just the thing of nightmares. Like, that's the thing. I don't want to go to a theme park and see that. Like, I already had dinosaur nightmares when I was a kid. Like,
I know. Because like the whole point of the theme of the of these movies is like, hey, we shouldn't like intervene and
play God.
Try to play exactly. Human beings should not play God,
and I think,
because you know we're not gods.
Yeah, we're not gods, and I think like the whole thing about them wanting to turn the freaking. I know we're so far away from.
I know.
I'm sorry, but like the fact that they just want to turn these raptors into like military weapons is
I
so
know.
stupid.
Yeah, that was an idea that floated for years. They floated that idea for like a decade as a sequel. And
it's so dumb. It is so frigging dumb, and it's just I don't find most of the characters all that interesting. It felt like every moment of Jurassic Park that I loved as a kid was put into Jurassic World as a look at this. Look, I hate when movies are telling me to look at something. I hate when they're just like, look at this. You remember how this made you feel. You remember this. Look at it.
It's the absolute just like worst type of fan service possible. And really honestly Jurassic World, because like, you know, I forget there's this one moment where they use the John Williams theme, and it's for nothing. It's like it's not like it's evoking emotion. It's just pure nostalgia bait fan service, and it's like no, like when I heard that before, it like gave me something, because you finally saw like an actual dinosaur, and now it's just like the entrance of a park.
Yeah. What? So so before my sister got married, she was asking me to help her pick out something to walk down the aisle to, and I was like, okay, like I was like, cool, like, because she's like, I know you really like music, and you know, so I threw some things at her, and in this link that I just sent her a thing of links, and in one of them was a very, very slow, very beautiful version of the Jurassic Park John Williams theme, because I think it's a beautiful piece of music. You know, it evokes just so much wonder and so much excitement
and grandeur and
grandeur and anticipation. And she was like, Lily, I really like that, but I can't walk down the aisle to the Jurassic Park theme.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I was a little disappointed, but she chose Etta James instead, which is fine.
Well, you know,
can't begrudge Etta James.
Yeah, no, can't begrudge that at all. So when this film came out, it was the second $1 billion film ever, and it was the second highest grossing film of all time. So that should just tell you, like, this film was absurdly successful.
Oh yeah,
absurdly successful. So yeah, and it basically kind of like this whole thing made Peter Jackson's career. Turned him from just like a guy who made some very strange films in the 90s.
Yeah, to a bankable and reliable Hollywood film director, man.
A-list director.
Shot him right to the freaking top.
Yeah. And then like, you know, to kind of go back in this whole saga, we talked about like how he was trying to do a King Kong film before this film. Well, sort of at the same time to see which one would happen first. And then once this was done, Universal came back to him like, hey, remember that King Kong film? So like,
he told you to fuck off.
Yeah. Right. And so like now we want to do the King Kong film. Are you down? And he was like,
you can make us money.
Yeah.
Make us money.
Yeah. And so and then after this he does the King Kong film.
Hey, you know what? That must have felt really good to have Universal come back to you. I mean, if I was Peter Jackson, I'd be like, make sweat.
I mean, I remember like, cause like in the negotiations, there was a whole bunch of stuff about like, oh, if it goes over the budget, cause they paid him a lot of money.
Oh yeah.
They paid him, you know what I'm saying?
His salary just went up.
It was like 7 figures like they had to pay him.
His asking price was like 12 houses.
Yeah. And he got paid a lot of money, but they had all these stipulations. They were like, okay, it can't be over this length in terms of like the film. Yeah, no, for real. And like the budget can't be this. And if it is, then your pay has to go down and all the shit. And so, all that stuff happened. But he ended up making that film. That was his next film.
And we gave him more money.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. Fucking good for Peter Jackson, man. Good for him.
And another great performance by, what's his name? Andy Serkis, who plays King Kong.
Yeah, doesn't he play one of the crewmen too? Doesn't he die a horrific death or something?
That to me, like, I can't really watch that scene.
Really?
Legitimately, no, like where they're in the trench and they get eaten by these bugs. That shit is like hella scary.
That's cool, man. I recently watched we were watching some nature documentary about these baby seals on a beach, and vampire bats came out, and it fucked me up.
What?
That was horrible. Yeah, like these vampire bats specifically hang out in these caves where these baby seals are when their mothers are like hunting at night, and they like.
Yeah, nature's really nasty.
These are giant bats. Yeah. Like these are like freaking. Oh, it was freaking me out. I was like, it's because he's this cute little baby seal.
Yeah, and then they get attacked by multiple bats. Bats are a messed up animal.
I love bats, honestly. But I was like, no, thank you.
Bats are a messed up animal. Bats and humans were never meant to like sort of share. I saw this great thing. It was like they were like, so why is it that bats are like creating all these diseases? And it's like, well, you see a bat, it's like their average temperature is like 20 degrees higher than us, but they're a mammal. So like a bat, so like something that would make a bat sick is something that would kill a human, basically.
Yeah, no.
But because they're a mammal, it can easily transfer to us.
Yeah.
So a lot of these things are like super bat diseases that are then getting transferred over to human beings.
Yeah, like I love bats. I don't want them near me personally. And again, it's not because I find them. It's not the vampire bat thing and the baby seal was freaky. But like the bats that are outside, like you're cute, you're eating the bugs. I don't want you near me because I know you're gonna kill me.
Yeah, exactly.
I know I'm gonna get rabies or some shit, and I'm not about the life. But Lord of the Rings will not give you rabies. Just segue back.
Yeah. So So this film opens up when we see Smeagol, not like Gollum Smeagol or a weird version of him, but this is like Smeagol when he was like a halfling.
A person, yeah.
Yeah, and he's putting a worm on a hook, and it's him and Deagle are fishing, and you know they're in a lake, they're in a boat, and they're fishing, and Deagle catches a fish, but the fish is so big. Or he's so small, or some sort of, combination of the two, that the fish like pulls him into the lake, and he can't catch the fish, and the fish gets away. But when he's in the lake, he looks down and he sees the One Ring in the lake bed, and he grabs it and he pulls it out, and he gets out of the water and he looks at it, and it's like, that's it, it's the ring. And then Smeagol's like, oh, I want it, give it to me for my birthday. And he's like, no. And then they start fighting.
Your birthday was last month.
Yeah.
Like, no.
they start fighting, and then one of the things I never noticed until I saw the film again like recently is like there's actually this sort of, I guess it's like a motif for the Power of the Ring, this sort of recursive vroom 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 sound. If you watch it in like a sort of like a more of a surround sound, you can really get the feel of it, and it's really kind of intoxicating, like the way that it kind of sort of depicts like, and the high pitched screechings and like shows you like what the power that the ring has over a person. And basically Smeagol kills Deagle for the ring, kills him, just kills him in cold blood. And then we get this really creepy montage of him over time deteriorating, and it's really gross.
It's rough. It's really rough. Now this is where Peter Jackson's horror background really like comes in handy, because it's horrific. I would say this is body horror.
Yeah, 100%. Because there's some of these like in between parts of him that are like just absolutely disgusting.
Yeah, it's just like, ugh, that's fucked up.
It's absolutely disgusting, like to see him deteriorate and lose his humanity.
Yeah, it's almost like an outward expression of like his soul deteriorating too.
Yeah.
It's fucked up.
Yeah, totally. And then he says like, we forgot the taste of bread, the sound of trees, the softness of the wind. What I love too is like there's a shot where like they change his eyes, like he blinks and then his eyes become like Gollum's eyes.
Yeah. It's like he's taking on that new persona, that new person that he's becoming.
Yeah. And that's how Smeagol became Gollum. And you can even see him he says like, we forgot our name. He's like, Gollum. And it's like, what the fuck?
Oh, he's all sickly and skinny and emaciated and just so...
Because he goes into the mountains and he's just there for centuries.
Yeah, you just see him crawl inside this hole. And he's like, yeah, I'm just not going out.
He crawls in this hole and he like...
Literally just crawls into a hole.
In The Hobbit, like he eats goblins. He'll eat them and kill them.
I don't think goblins are all that nutritious. And it shows because he's literally gray.
Yeah, he's gray.
He's a gray person.
Yeah, it's all bad. So then we kind of get back to things. So Frodo and Sam, they awaken. Frodo's not sleeping. And he's still, enraptured by the ring in a way. And Smeagol's like, hey, wake up, hobbits. It's time to go. And, basically the days are growing darker as they get closer to Mordor, because Mordor, like, there's that massive cloud over the actual area. So it's like, he's like, I think Frodo even says like, oh, it's midday, but it's dark as if it's night or as if it's like, the evening.
Oh, and that's going to fuck with your head a little bit too. You know what I mean? Like it's going to mess with your surroundings. It's going to mess with like what time of day it is. Oh, it feels like I know it's noon, but it feels like it's 11 p.m. Like,
and your sleep cycle is off.
And you're not sleeping at all, and because you're just laying there stroking a freaking ring on a chain, like, ugh.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
And something's wrong, but you can't stop.
And we can still see that, like, again, like you'd said before, like, there's a physical atrophy of his body.
Yeah.
From like where the ring is around, like where the ring lays in his chest, there's like a circle.
Yeah, and then, the chain is like it feels like it's weighty, and even Frodo says it's getting heavier, like, and it's just like boring holes into him, and it's awful. It's like
bad,
terrible to go through.
It was really bad. Yeah, but they keep going. But like, and the other thing too is like there's this thing that we're left with in the second film, where Gollum is leading them into this cave where there's something. He doesn't say exactly what it is, but basically he says, oh yeah, like we can get this other thing to kill them so that we can take the ring. So we kind of, the audience knows like they're about to be betrayed by him.
Yeah, it sounds like Gollum doesn't have their best interests at heart or something like that.
No. But that's an interesting sort of thematic thing, right? Because like Gollum is an essential character. And it's essential that Gollum lives too, actually, ironically. And so it's an interesting thing to think about, I think, in a way, that even someone as like weird as Gollum like has a purpose.
Yeah.
So back at Isengard, so Merry and Pippin, they're like, they're smoking and drinking and doing their thing. Isengard's flooded, the ruins are there.
They might be having the best time of everybody, honestly.
Oh yeah, I mean, they were so happy when they found that weed and all that other stuff. They're smoking it, and so then Gandalf and company arrive, and they see the two of them up there. They're like, because they've been looking for them for like that entire movie, the second movie, they were looking for them, and they never found them. But now they finally find them, and they're sitting on a wall, smoking weed and eating. Typical Hobbit stuff. And he said something like, "Oh, this is under new ownership." Yeah, Isengard's under new management. The Ents have taken over. And then they go to confront Saruman, who is locked up. He locked himself up in the tower.
He went to his room.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, basically, he went to his room, and like, I remember, I think it was in the second movie. Like, they were, so you can see the Ents like throwing rocks at the tower, trying to like get in or something, and it kind of didn't work. But they, it just showed that they're like, well, he's up there, but we couldn't really do anything. We tried.
Yeah. At least we know where he is.
Yeah. And so then basically Saruman just like talks a lot of shit. He just comes out and he talks a lot of shit. So he starts off by asking for peace. Oh, can we have peace?
That bitch. What are you talking about? What are you smoking?
Yeah. By the way, so all of this entire scene, like when they find him and talk to him and all this stuff, was completely cut from the theatrical version of the film. Totally cut it all out. Cut this whole plot line out. So we never see him die or anything in the theatrical. We don't know what happens. He's gone. He's defeated. So Theoden Theoden says to him, "We shall have peace when you answer for the burning of the Westfold and the children that lie dead there. We shall have peace when the lives of the soldiers whose bodies were hewn even as they lay dead against the gates of the Hornburg are avenged. When you hang from a gibbet for the sport of your own crows, we shall have peace." So
that's my counter offer.
Yeah. they didn't like never has like a non-iconic line most of the time. Like his lines are insane.
Theoden has a lot of good lines.
No, I think a part of that is like they're taking a lot of the stuff from the book and having him say it, which is like a part of it. So I guess a lot of that probably should go to Tolkien. But yeah, he like has like
yeah, but this actor is like, I get to deliver this shit. This is a fucking awesome monologue. I'm gonna fucking nail this shit. Like, he does. Absolutely. I forget that actor's name. I constantly forget his name, but I'm like, yeah, he fucking nailed it.
You know what's funny too? Because that guy was like we talked about it before. That guy was in Titanic. He was the captain.
Imagine being in 2 at the time, because it's before Avatar. This is before the MCU. Imagine being like able to say, yeah, I've been in 2. I've been in the 2 most highest grossing films of all time.
The only I was looking at it, and the only other person like around, well, it actually was really the 2010s was Johnny Depp, basically, because he was in the Pirates movies, and then he was also in that remake of Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah, I didn't particularly like that, but I know they made a lot of money. I know a lot of people do really like them.
Yeah. I mean, it's made sense as a thing. I mean, and then Disney remade everything. Like,
and I can say something really controversial right now, but I'm not going to.
Yeah. So then Saruman has a retort to Theoden. He's like, "Oh, a man of Rohan. What is the house of Rohan but a thatched barn where brigands drink and the reek and rats roll on the floor with the dogs?
You white trash is what he's saying."
Yeah, he basically is saying that you guys are trash.
White trash. Like,
you guys are trash who drink in barns with rats. Oh my god. Yeah. You are a lesser son of greater sires. Damn. Yeah.
You need some ointment for that burn?
What's funny too is like this whole time Gandalf is like, okay, look, I know he's an asshole, but we need to not kill him because he knows things. We need to get him to tell us what the plan is. And so he's like pleading with him, like, tell us, you are deep in the enemy's council. Tell us what their plan is. He's like, no, I'm not going to tell you shit. And so then it's like I think Gimli's like, all right, I've had enough. Like, let's kill him. And then he starts talking shit about Wormtongue too. like Theoden's like, hey, Wormtongue, just come down. You know, you're a man of Rohan. Let's have peace. And Saruman slaps him in the face. Like,
yeah, because Wormtongue's kind of considering it because he's like, I think I know how this is gonna go.
Yeah,
I'm gonna put my eggs in a different basket, basically.
Yeah. So Saruman slaps him, and so then Wormtongue stabs him. And then Wormtongue gets shot by Legolas, and then they both die. And then Saruman tumbles off this thing, and he falls onto a pike.
Pretty much. It's kind of a rough way to go, but you know, he went the way he lived.
Yeah, he died. He died a pretty horrific death. And yeah, I'm not sure where he's gonna go when he dies, but I don't know. I don't know if the creator of the universe is gonna be very happy with him. But yeah, there you go.
Just figure his soul goes back, and he's like, "Oh shit, I just got."
Yeah.
Oh fuck, I'm in trouble.
Yeah, he's in a lot of trouble.
I'm in trouble.
So then, like, Pippin sees the Palantir fall out of his cloak, and then he, like, for whatever reason, he's like obsessed with it, like, immediately, and so then he grabs it, and then Gandalf's like, "Hey, give it to me. Don't look at it." And so then he takes it and he like covers it. So then they all ride back to Edoras. Theoden gives this sort of like, you know, toast to the dead, and they drink and they celebrate their victory, basically. And again, there's a bunch of scenes here that are not in the theatrical. Gimli and Legolas have a drinking contest, which Legolas wins because he barely gets drunk at all, and Gimli just like basically dies.
He gets a little alcohol poisoning.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny. It's a funny.
It's
scene.
good. I like the extended version of the scene.
Yeah, Merry and Pippin are singing and dancing, and drinking. You know, doing like this is, you know, that's the thing that they're really good at. Singing, dancing, and drinking.
It's nice seeing everybody happy.
Yeah, it's a celebration. And so they're also like, meanwhile, you know, Aragorn and Gandalf are like, okay, do we actually think that they're alive, the hobbits? And Gandalf's like, I don't know for sure, but like my heart tells me that they're still out there. So then we catch up with, you know, the two of them and Gollum. Gollum is like talking to sleep. Like he's so obsessed with like killing them that he's like talking to sleep.
He's kind of giving away his own game.
Yeah. It's like really bad. And so then he has like another one of these. So then we finally like know what the plan is. So he like has a, you know, a talk with his other personality, and he's gonna lead them into the lair of Shelob, the giant spider. Yeah. And so he's talking about it, and he's like, "Oh yeah, they're never gonna to know what happened, and then we're gonna get the." Yeah, he's like, "Yeah, it's like, and then I'm gonna take the ring for me," and he's like, "No, for us, precious, for us." Yes, of course.
Really loud too, like. Frodo's already. This is the one night Frodo actually gets a good night's sleep.
I know.
It's like.
So of course Sam overhears this conversation and he just like tries to kill him. He's like I'm done. I already hated this dude. I already hated him, but like now I know that he has a plan to kill us, so I'm killing him first. And then Frodo's like, no, what's going on? He's like, dude, they're like, he's got a plan to kill us. He's gonna throttle us in our sleep. He's gonna do it. I can't stand it. I can't take it. But Frodo's like, no, don't kill him. Don't do it. We need a guide. We need him. And then like my favorite part of this scene is like Gollum gives Sam a look.
He's like,
yeah, I'm gonna kill you.
Asshole.
Yeah, I know.
He's not even trying. He already knows he's got Frodo wrapped around his bony little creepy fingers. Yeah. So he doesn't care about Sam anymore. He doesn't have to like put on a show for him. He's just like, fuck you. Like what would have been great is if there's an outtake of Andy Serkis just as Gollum smirking, being like, fuck you.
Yeah.
I would love that.
Yeah, but again, this is such an interesting thing because like I feel like on a certain level thematically the idea is like even people that are kind of evil, they have a place, and just like, you know, dealing out death is, you know, like there are other ways to handle something like that than just like killing somebody. You know, because, you know, again, Gollum has a very important part to play in this story, and he leads them to the right place. I mean, he does it in a very dastardly way, but he does lead them to where they need to go. He just doesn't have the cojones to actually kill him. He needs someone else to kill him. Yeah. So any thoughts on that, or just, I don't know if you agree.
No, I think you hit the nail on the head, man.
Yeah. So then again, Pippin, so everyone's asleep. They're all they've done partying, and Pippin's like, I have to see it. I have to see the orb. And so then he sneaks into Gandalf's room, who sleeps with his eyes open, as we see, which is kind of weird. And he takes the Palantir, and then he looks at it, and then of course, the Dark Lord Sauron answers the phone.
He's like, "Hello."
Yeah, he's like, "Oh," and then he sees that it's a halfling. Hello. Yeah, he sees that it's a halfling. It's like, "Oh, you're the one who has the ring."
Yeah. Which isn't like a dumb assumption for Sauron to make. He's just like, "Oh, I know a halfling has it. How many freaking halflings can be wandering around out here?" Kind of thing. This is a process of elimination.
Yeah, and so, and then he has a whole seizure basically, and then he's like, "Oh," Gandalf's like, "Oh, what did you see?" Like, "Oh, I saw a white tree burning," and blah blah blah, stuff like this. And then basically the next day they're like, Gandalf's like, "There was no lying in Pippin. He's a fool, but an honest fool. He remains. The Dark Lord is going to strike Minas Tirith." And so basically that's the next move that's going to happen. And so Gandalf and Pippin have to go to Minas Tirith together without Merry. Merry has to stay. And Mary's like, "Dude, you always have to look, don't you? You have no idea."
Fucked up.
Yeah, you have no idea what you got yourself into, and I can't help you now because you're going, and I have to stay. And yeah, he was just kind of sad about it. Yeah, and so then they make haste to Minas Tirith with on Shadowfax, and they leave them in Rohan. So then we pick up with the elves who are leaving. They're going to the Undying Lands, which is, I guess, it's like a stairway to heaven, basically, literally an elevator to heaven. But then Eowyn has this vision of her and Aragorn having a son, and so that makes her go back to Rivendell. And then she kind of confronts her dad, and her dad's like, I only saw death, but there's also life, and there's this whole thing because again, she's conflicted. She wants to be with him, even if it means. Because he's basically superhuman because he's one of the Dunedain, so he's gonna live longer. But even he's gonna die at some point.
Yeah, but even he has his limit. If he's not killed in battle, he'll just die of old age.
Yeah. But she wants, she wants to be with him, and basically she's like, I'm not, if there's hope, if there's a chance, I want to be with him. And also, you need to reforge the sword. Reforge Narsil. And so he's like, "Okay, fine. I relent. I give in to your relationship. I will do my best to make sure that he becomes king." And then we get this whole thing where they're reforging the sword.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's hella cool actually. It's one of the we see them remake it, but we don't see them the new name and everything until later on when he hands it over to him. Yeah. So then Gandalf and Pippin, they arrive in Minas Tirith. This is a great shot of them going over a hill in the horse, and we see the full city. It's really cool. I really like the design that they went, because we've seen Minas Tirith a little bit before. I think even in the first movie, I think he goes there when he's reading those scrolls and he's trying to figure out what's going on with the ring because he didn't know. Mm-hmm. And I think he goes to Minas Tirith, and we get a kind of a similar shot. Yeah, so then they're going to see Denethor, and Gandalf is funny. Gandalf's like, "Okay, yeah, don't bring up the sun, don't bring up anything, don't." As a matter of fact, just don't talk at all, okay? Just don't say anything, don't talk, don't do anything. Just.
I think how even Pippin's just kind of "Yeah, you're probably right."
Yeah. So they get there, and he's like, "Oh, hail Denethor, son of Excelion, blah 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 blah, the Steward of Gondor." and they like bow, and then he's like got the horn of he's got Boromir's horn. It's like cloven in two. His hand is like, what happened to my son? And he's like, oh shit.
It's not good. You know what I just told you, Mary? Pippin? Just fuck all of that.
Yeah. And then Pippin's like, oh, like, because he was there when he got killed. It's like, oh, your son, died in battle defending us. And he's like, oh shit, you shouldn't have said that, dude. And then he like offers his services in debt for Boromir saving his life.
Like Gandalf's just like, dude, these people take oaths very seriously. So.
Yeah, not only that, but like, do you know what's coming?
No, of course Pippin doesn't know what's coming. He's a little dope.
Yeah, he's a little dope.
Like, I love Pippin, but he's a dope. He's a freaking dope. He's not, like I said, Merry's always been Merry seems way more adaptable. He's always in on it before Pippin is.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he is. But yeah,
but this is like Pippin's moment to grow up. This is his moment to like finally like grow up. It's not a fucking game.
100%. It's his moment to grow up. He's finally on his own without Merry, so he has to like become his own person. And he's gonna do some stupid things like he does, but he's gonna have to learn from it. Exactly. So Denethor does not like Gandalf. They have a name for him. I forget that the people here, they have a specific name they call Gandalf. I forget what it is.
It's not Stormcrow. I think that's what Theoden called him at one point.
Yeah. Wormtongue calls him that multiple times. Yeah. Anyway, I forget, but it's because he's traveled so many different places. Like different people have different names for him. And he's like, oh, with your left hand, you seek to use me as a shield, and with your right hand, supplant me.
Fuck, dude, it's not about you.
It's not about you. You get the little chair. There's a reason why you sit in the little chair, not the big chair up there.
Little chair.
Like, he literally has his own little chair.
That's the thing. People like this who are just like, so me. It's like, it's so much bigger than you dumb fuck. Yeah. It's just like, go away. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like how do you feel about his character in this movie?
I think at one point, Denethor was probably an honorable person. I think he probably did care about Gondor, and I think it was more about the bigger picture. I think over time, he became a greedy piece of shit. And he just like got so high on himself that he's like, it's just, and the thing is though, he doesn't even care about Gondor by the end. He's just like, flee for your lives. No. It's just like, you're not a leader.
I mean, I think my whole take is like, I think that he, so first off, he's a really kind of like weird guy because you can tell that he treats Faramir like shit.
Oh yeah, there's definitely favoritism there.
Big favoritism. And then when Boromir died, like I think he just kind of it broke him.
Oh yeah, and I have no doubt. Like I have no doubt that would break a person. None at all. I think he was already at a breaking point. Yeah. All right. I don't think he was completely there to begin with. And the thing is, Boromir didn't even like all the attention his dad gave him. It's not like they were buddies or something like that.
No.
It's not like Boromir was just like, he tries really hard and you're an asshole, by the way. It's just.
Yeah. I think that he, I think Gandalf even says like at the end of this little scene, he says like, oh, he would use his, I forget, but to doom us all or something like. He says something like that.
And to do nothing. It's just like, you're just gonna sit and puddle in your own fucking grief. But like, there will be time to mourn for Boromir. There will be time to mourn for him. But like, your people need you, and this is bigger than all of us. Stop being a twat.
Yeah, he's basically he's not really a good dude. And it's just so like the way he reacts to this is just so negative because like he's an antagonist.
Oh, he's absolutely an antagonist. Plus, I think he knows that like if the king returns, like he's okay, I'm kind of useless.
He's a steward.
You don't think Aragorn's gonna put a different steward in place of him?
Well,
he's replaceable.
Like he would be useful. Like he no longer like he's a steward because there is no king because the line they thought was broken, and so once the line is restored, he's gone. I mean, he probably would still be considered nobility, but he wouldn't be a ruling person anymore.
It's not up to you to deny the return of the king. Steward.
Yeah,
Love that line. I love when the way Ian McKellen just says steward. It's like, I'm gonna put you in your fucking place.
You're not because you are a steward.
That's all you are, dude. That's all you are.
You are a steward.
That I feel like that's like that's still a very honorable to be your family to be chosen to be stewards of a kingdom.
Yeah. But it went to his head.
Went to his head, and now he's a dick.
Yeah. So they leave that meeting feeling, a lot of bad things have happened, basically. Yeah. And so then, Gandalf was like talking about like the next night. They're like, talking about what's going to happen, and he's saying like, oh yeah, so now they're about to invade Minas Tirith. And by the way, we're not going to leave because Pippin's like, oh great, really so now we're going, right? It's like, no, help is going to come to us. We're staying here until the end.
Yeah, because things are much worse here than he had realized.
Yeah. So they're about to be invaded. They're not prepared, and their leader is an idiot. I mean, he's worthless. He's useless, and he's actually actively making things worse. So yeah, they're in a bad situation, and they don't have time to do anything else other than stay and try and fight. And yeah, so he's talking about like, oh yeah, so they're about to invade. They have this map because what's crazy is like the force that they have in Mordor is like even larger than the one that invaded in the second movie.
Mm-hmm.
Now the fighting force, like the Uruk-hai, are more skilled and trained and more powerful, but the raw numbers that we're gonna see in this movie that they send are ridiculous.
Yeah.
Ridiculous. So, and then he's talking about like the leader of their army is going to be the Witch King of Agmar, the person who stabbed Frodo, and yeah, it's real bad. So, meanwhile, Frodo and Sam and Gollum they find the staircase finally, and so they're heading up it. And then basically they are like there while I don't know, whatever happens. Like there's this massive pillar of energy shoots out of the tower.
Evil, I think. I think it's just like portraying evil incarnate. Because the Witch King of Angmar is badass. Like he's pretty. I love that whole design of the Witch King of Angmar. Yeah. Like it's all they do is they just take like the ring wraith and put some armor on him. But it's like if you can make something that badass, but that's in the simplest of ways, like that's pretty cool. Yeah. He's got that cool crown that he has on his head. It's like I don't know. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's real cool. Real scary stuff. Yeah, and so they're, Frodo and Sam and Gollum are there, and they see this whole thing happen. Like what's crazy because they show them there, see this pillar of evil, and then Gandalf and Pippin are like miles and miles.
Yeah, but they can still see it.
They can still see it. They're like, oh shit, this is it. And Gandalf's like, this is it. This is the great battle of our time. It's about to begin. And so then, because the other thing too is like Frodo was like walking towards the bad place,
out of it,
and then they have to pull him away, and they see the armies marching.
I think the one time Sam and Gollum actually work together, it's like no,
no, I have to have the ring. I can't let them take it.
And Sam's like, oh shit! And like the one thing that they work together on is keeping Frodo away from even worse people.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. So then, they the two of them, they're going up this very steep staircase on the side of this mountain. And then the next day we get this great scene where Gandalf sends Pippin to light the beacon to call for aid.
I love the beacon montage.
This is so great. So meanwhile, the Gondor soldiers are defending Osgiliath, which is this like it's basically this city that's right on the border, because like most of a lot of their territory is like close to Mordor, Gondor, and so Osgiliath is just a city that's really really close, and there's like a
pummeled over and over and over again.
They're being sieged like 100%. Oh yeah, and then we get to meet this character called Gothmog.
I didn't even know. Is that the one with the one eye?
Yeah.
The weird hand. Yeah, I had no idea that character even had a name.
Yeah. So, he also had a very affectionate name from the people who created him, Can you guess what they called
Harvey
him?
Weinstein one?
It's Harvey. They called him Harvey. That's Harvey. Yeah. So Osgiliath, it's a very strategically important location because basically there's a river, the Andun River, and there's so they had created like a bridge over that river, and so if you want your army to cross the river, like that's a very strategic, one way or the other, it's a very strategically important place. And this place has been sieged. It's been completely destroyed. Actually, I remember I was actually reading and doing these notes that there used to be pretty much, there was some like really like nice architecture there, and I forget there was this other like place where people would look at the stars or something, and like there's actually like they showed a shot of what that place was in this film, and it's like completely destroyed. So everything that was ever there that was of any importance was destroyed, and everyone had to flee, and now it's just ruins that are being fought over by these opposing armies. And so we basically see these armies are fighting and basically like a last stand, like the Gondor army, they're in a last stand situation, like they are vastly outnumbered. And the orcs are silently moving in and about to attack. So then Pippin lights the beacon, and then we get this awesome montage with this like really awesome music. And we see the beacon being lit across like vast amounts of distance over mountains and valleys, and it's snowing and all this stuff. And then we get to Rohan and Edoras, and Aragorn, he's doing something. I don't know. He's like reading or he's smoking.
I think he's having a snack, actually. I think he was eating.
He's like eating. He has like a little bowl. Yeah, he does. He has a bowl.
Yeah, he's in his easy clothes.
He's like, do. He's eating. And then
hopefully
he
it's not the same stew that, Eowyn makes.
He seemed to actually be enjoying this, so maybe she got better, right? Maybe she got better.
Yeah. I can't cook, girl, so that's cool.
Yeah. So he's eating, and then he looks up and he sees the beacon, and he just like throws his food and he just starts running. He's running and running and running, and he runs into the kind of the hall of the king. It's like, the beacons are lit. The beacons are lit. Gondor calls for aid. And they all kind of look at him.
Well, they're waiting to see what Théoden's play is going to be. Yeah, he's been shit-talking Gondor this whole time.
Yes, he has. And he's like, and Rohan will answer. Yes, and that's it. They're going.
That. And Rohan will answer. Again, this guy gets some of the best lines. Like, it's just so cool. I love it.
Yeah. And they're off. They're off to war, or at least to fight. And what we will see is like one of the most. It's Armageddon. It's Armageddon for them, basically. So Eowyn is going to ride with them, and he's like, "Why are you riding with us into battle?" Like, "Oh, it's custom for women to ride into battle." And then he like looks, and she's got a sword, and he's like, "No,
don't touch my shit."
Yeah, it's like, well, the men they're going to fight to the death with you. Like, why can't I do that as well? And he's like, "Okay, girl, whatever you want."
He's like, "You know what? Whatever floats your boat, man."
Yeah.
Like.
So Mary asks Théoden to like, I guess basically be a part of their army, and Théoden's like, "Sure, okay," but he's kind of too small. Like there's a scene of him on a horse, and he's like trying to get it to go, and it's not working.
And he's on a pony. I don't think it's a full grown. He's on a pony. He's on a Shetland pony or something.
Yeah. So it's kind of like, that's what he wants to do, right? So his friend is gone, but he's like, "Hey, I want to fight in this battle too." It only makes sense because if the world ends, like if I'm in this world, I'd rather at least die fighting than potentially lose and have to live in the world where like the Dark Lord rules over everybody. No, thank you. No, thank you. So back on Osgiliath, the fighting continues, and like, it's real bad. It's like some Stalingrad kind of stuff, it's really do or die. So then, Harvey like kills there's this human who gets hit in the head, and he's like barely dying, and then they stab him and kill him. He's like, "The age of men is over. The time of the orc has come." Okay. And so while they're retreating, we see the Nazgul fell beasts like killing people. Like they're just swooping down, grabbing them, and basically dropping them from a really high distance, killing them. Gandalf like comes out to like sort of basically save them, and he uses his staff to like project this light at the Nazgul, and so then they fly away because they don't like the light. And so they've just lost at that point. They had just completely lost.
Faramir made the call. He's like, yeah we gotta retreat.
We gotta go. They would have all died.
They would have all died. And, that was the right call to make. And he was like, you know what? Fuck them.
They were overrun, like massively overrun.
And I'm not gonna die in us fucking Gilead. Like, no way.
Yeah. So then Faramir sees Pippin and he's like, oh,
another one?
another halfling. And he tells Gandalf basically, yeah, I saw Sam and Frodo and they took this path. And then Gandalf's like, oh shit, they took that path?
And then Faramir's like, I tried.
No. Yeah. He's like, I told him, like, that's really dangerous.
I love that even though Denethor's a dick to Gandalf and clearly doesn't like him, Faramir's just like, oh, it's Gandalf. That's so cool. Yeah. He's like really happy to see him.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he's usually a good omen. I mean, again, it just shows how messed up Denethor is, right?
Yeah, and I think it's nice seeing that Faramir has his own mind. He has his own mind. He's like, I don't know, Gandalf's always been pretty helpful, and he's got a bunch of cool last names, and I really like him, and he just saved my ass.
Yeah. And then Denethor, again, denigrates Faramir. And he's like, there's this scene, there's one of these scenes, like, again, it's not in the theatrical. He starts hallucinating. Denethor starts hallucinating. He sees Boromir.
Yeah.
He sees him physically there when he's looking at it. It's so fucked up because he's like, he's talking to Faramir, and then behind him he sees Boromir, and he's like happy, but then the vision goes away, and then he's like sad, and he's like, leave me alone. What?
No, even Faramir has a line. He's like, oh, you wish that I had died.
Yeah.
You wish I had died, and, Boromir was still living. And in any other, scenario, a parent might lie and be like, no, I love my children equally. But no, Denethor's like, yeah.
Oh,
he doubles down. He's like, yeah, man, I hate you for some reason.
Yeah. I don't know. It's real
because he's nice. Because Faramir's just a nice guy. He's Mr. Nice Guy.
Yeah, he is. The only time he's ever been bad is when he tried to do things to make his dad happy.
Yeah, until he realized, my daddy issues aren't your issues.
Yeah.
Like
exactly.
It's like, wow, you have daddy issues. Get in line. And
here's the thing. Denethor will never love him ever.
No,
would never ever love him.
I wonder also. I know
that sucks.
Skipping. It does suck. I know I'm skipping ahead a little bit, but like I often wonder if when he's obsessing over burning Faramir, if he's actually seeing Boromir, if he's actually just hallucinating his favorite son. Because like, what happens to Boromir's body? They have it goes over the waterfall. They have the Horn of Gondor. But they never really mention about burying him, having any kind of ceremony. I don't know if it's mentioned in the books or anything like that, but
that's a good point.
It's probably not. It's probably just my own, like, what's it called? Internal canon or something like that. But like, I wonder if Denethor is just so batshit crazy, he's just hallucinating Boromir.
I don't think that they ever got his body. Because they would have made a big to-do about it. I think that only thing that washed up was the horn. And that's all they have. And then they're like, oh, he's dead. He's dead.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think, don't they kind of mention something in the second movie about, because they know that he died.
I feel like
exactly
Faramir has a weird dream, but I don't know if it was a dream or if he was actually seeing his body wash up on shore. I don't know if it was weird nightmare he was having.
Yeah, wasn't there? I don't know. That's the other thing too, is like we're kind of like, because that was like a scene again. That scene was cut out of the theatrical. That whole flashback where there's Boromir and Faramir in Osgiliath. That battle, that whole thing was cut, and I think even that stuff with when they talked about Boromir was cut. And then this stuff where he has where Denethor has the horn, that is in the theatrical. And so like, I don't know, it kind of seems like they're, you know.
I mean, either version works. I think either version works pretty well. But yeah, that's just, Denethor is just not in his right mind. So I wonder if he's just like, because he wouldn't do that to Faramir. He wouldn't give that kind of honor to Faramir.
I know.
Put him in a hole in the ground.
Yeah.
He'd probably like, oh, my son's funeral was today? Sorry, I'm busy.
Yeah, I'm mourning. I'm in mourning for my better son.
Has Boromir come back?
Yeah. Like, yeah. I think, you know, the way that he acts like they didn't get a body.
Yeah, you know? I agree. I don't think they ever got a body back.
You know what could have happened is that basically Faramir buried the body and didn't tell him or something like that, maybe.
I could definitely see Faramir doing that, honestly. I could see that being a thing.
Yeah, I don't know. But you know, his behavior, he acts like he never saw a body, basically. That all he got was the horn, and that made him depressed, and then he went melancholy, and he did what he did, you know. So Frodo and Sam, so they're continuing to climb up this thing. Sam is like really paranoid about Gollum because like he's like, dude, he's gonna do something, because like, you know, there's a point where Frodo is climbing and then the ring kind of protrudes out of his shirt, and then Gollum's like looking at it like, oh my god, it's there.
All you would have to do is push him. That's all he would have to do.
Grab it and then push him.
He's a fucking coward.
Yeah. Yeah. But then he's like, he helps him. He's like, oh, you know, like the Sam just hates me. He hates me. He's such an evil guy, and I know the burden is so hard. And then he like whispers in his ear, like, you know, he's gonna try and take the ring from you. You know, he wants it.
That is so awful. That is so awful. What a piece of shit.
Yeah, he's a piece of shit. He's a real dastardly, evil kind of guy. But yeah, he'll never stab you in the front though. Never.
No. What is that line from The Dark Knight Rises? It's the slow blade.
Yeah, it's the slow blade is the one. Yeah, when she stabbed him.
Yeah, when she literally stabbed him.
It's like, okay, we got him. We saw Bane. I bet it's so funny. We keep talking about The Dark Knight Rises. We keep talking about The Dark Knight Rises. We really have this like massive 10-minute like.
It's a good point. I only bring it up because it is a good point, because it's a good metaphor. It's the slow blade. It's the long con. You know what I mean? This is a long
absolutely
con.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, in The Dark Knight Rises, it's stupid, but in this case, it works very well.
Yeah. I can't wait till we talk about The Dark Knight Rises, because like there's so many. Because like the thing about The Dark Knight Rises is that there's some stuff that's really, really good.
Oh, absolutely!
Really fantastic.
There's stuff that is really, really good, and then
there's that. Then there's like, there's kids in the sewers, and we don't care.
Like, we just don't give a fuck
oh, you know, my other 14-year-old friends, they're all working in the sewer.
Oh, there's work in the sewers. Now you don't react the way that he reacts to kids being in the sewers, and I'm like, we literally talk about it every time we stream. It's like the way Joseph Gordon-Levitt reacts to children living and working in sewers is so grossly negligent.
Yeah, it's like, okay,
I guess he's a good cop in that respect.
Like, do you mean that as a joke, or do you mean that as like, is this like a fantasy? Is this like Bridge to Terabithia, or are you talking that they actually kids went into the sewer? Oh yeah, kids, we're getting paid $20 an hour. You know, we get benefits, we get healthcare.
Yeah, basically, he's like a Big Brother program.
Basically, it's like, okay, you need to. I mean, to be fair, that like the one person who actually does care was Commissioner Gordon. Like, he goes down there and he like
the guy who becomes a geriatric because of them going down to the sewers actually did the damn thing.
Yeah,
he actually went did the damn thing and actually got something from it.
Yeah.
Well, he also lost this speech, and that was very embarrassing. Anyway.
Yeah. Anyway.
Gollum's playing a long con.
He is playing a long con. So then the invasion like begins. The Witch King is like, send forth all legions. And then the other dude, Harvey's like, what about the wizard? Like, I will break the wizard.
Oh, I will break him. Ugh.
I will break him. Like, holy shit. So then Pippin like officially pledges his loyalty and fealty to Denethor.
Yeah, it was a whole little ceremony and stuff. Yeah. Denethor showed up to that. Didn't show up to any of Faramir's birthdays, I guess, either. No. But, you know.
And it's kind of fucked up, too, because, like, Faramir is there, and then he says something. Like, Denethor says something, and he has some kind of saying, which is, again, he's just always degrading him. Always degrading Faramir. And then we get the beginning of, like, the evil eating. He doesn't, like, fully go into it there, but, like, he does this thing. Pippin kisses the ring. He like treats Faramir like shit. Oh yeah, and then he tells him like, oh, by the way, you need to retake Osgiliath.
Yeah, and Faramir's like
do you?
With who?
He's like, I don't care. You. I don't care who. Go.
Your brother would have taken it all by himself. No, he fucking wouldn't have. I think he was.
You know what's funny? Like that. You know what's funny too? Because like, if his brother retreated, his dad would have said, "Oh, that was such a smart, strategic thing to do."
Yeah, better to save your life and come back and regroup. But if Faramir retreats to save the last 5 soldiers,
there were like 20 people, and they're riding as fast as they can, and there's a bunch of Nazgul coming
by a fell beast, not just any beast, a fell beast. Denny, Denethor's just a dentist. That's all he is. He's just a fucking dentist.
Yeah, he's terrible. He's terrible, and it's like it's just so annoying. Like, you know. Because I feel like we've all kind of been there where you just feel like you can't do anything right in some situation with some person. Yeah. Everything you do is wrong and you're just like frustrated, you know?
Exactly. Yeah. No, I definitely know what that feels like. Not with a parent, ironically. But I had my last general manager at Panera was exactly like that, where it was just like,
everything you do is wrong.
Everything is wrong. Nothing is right. Oh, yeah, I think I had a really good close last night because I only had 2 employees to help me close an entire freaking restaurant. Yeah, well, the trash didn't get taken out in the office. Yeah, the trash in the office is like, look at that. I'm like.
Did you hear that story?
What?
About, I don't know if it was Panera or if it was another restaurant chain. And like, the general manager sent out this message. It was like you can't take off any days anymore. Like if you are sick, like I need to see like a doctor's note, or I need to see something showing that you're actually sick. Otherwise, I'm not going to let you take time off. I've had enough of this shit.
I've been there. I've been there, done that. It's like you actually legally can't do that. There's nothing. If you're working in food service and your manager says that to you, you actually have rights and you can take them to
take them to court.
You can take them to court, or you can just go to HR, go above their head.
Yeah.
They're not God. That's the thing in food service. People like to pretend that they can play God and be the king or queen of their little kingdom, and it's just like it's a fucking restaurant. You're not saving children in Ethiopia. Go fuck yourself.
Yeah, you're not. You're a thief. You're a little
Yeah, so no, they actually can't do that. That's not true at all, actually. Most of the time, more restaurants are breaking more laws than they realize, especially, and it has to do with like mostly employee rights.
Yeah, they're doing it blatantly too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like people who work certain jobs just get treated like shit.
Yeah, I've literally seen managers cut people's hours to the point so that they'll just quit. Because I don't want to have to actually fire them. They'll just whittle it down and whittle it down and whittle it down. Oh, you only have 2 hours this week? Sucks because we only have to legally pay you for 2 hours.
Yeah.
That's what Denethor would do. That's what Denethor's doing to Faramir right now.
Yeah.
He's whittling him down.
Oh, yeah. And Faramir is like, okay, fine, I'll go on the suicide mission. You know, me and the Suicide Squad, we're going to go and do it. If that makes you happy.
Yeah,
and it doesn't even make him happy. It doesn't even make him happy.
No, because most people who do things like this, who are just assholes to be assholes, don't actually even feel better after they do something. That's just so awful. And I get the impression they didn't even make it to Osgiliath.
No!
They didn't even make it there.
Jesus Christ. Those people have so much more, like, everything than Denethor. Like, you're riding to your certain death.
Yeah, you're being an asshole, pulling the strings behind the scenes, being a prick, and not actually getting off your ass. While meanwhile, everybody else on the ground is actually doing the damn thing.
Yeah. Fucking Denethor.
It's
terrible. So then we catch up with Frodo, Sam, and Gollum again. So Sam is like, very weary of Gollum, so he won't go to sleep. So he's like got his eye open, but then he finally goes to sleep, and then Gollum sees that he's asleep, and then he starts doing what he does. So he like takes all the Lambert's bread and he like spreads it on him, and he throws it off the cliff.
What a piece of shit.
He's
such a piece of shit.
He's an absolute piece of shit. And then the next day, all this stuff is happening, and then I forget something happens, and then he's like, "Oh look, the fat one! He ate all the food." And then Frodo gets mad, and then Sam's like, "Oh, let me help you with this burden of the ring." And then Gollum's like, see, I was right. And then Frodo's like, so basically Sam's like, oh, well, yeah, Sam's like, dude, this guy, he's a fucking asshole. He's like, no. Frodo's like, you're the asshole. You have to leave.
Yeah, he's like, he's trying to turn you against me. Like, what the fuck, man?
You know what's funny? Like, that's like the exact line from from what was that? What's the Star Wars movie? Revenge of the Sith. It plays a lot better in this movie than it does in Revenge of the Sith. You turned her against me.
You have done that yourself.
Yeah. Anyway, he's poisoned you against me, Frodo. And Frodo tells him off, tells him to leave. He tells Sam to leave.
Oh, and
it's so fucking sad.
After he leaves, and like,
it's so sad.
He's just like climbing down this mountain. He's just crying, and it just
by himself. Yeah, it's so sad.
Defeated.
Yeah,
and he's so sad, and
because he just wants to help his friend.
He just wants to help his friend. He doesn't care about the ring. He's like, he's not trying to take it from him. He's offering, "Let me help you." But anytime you try to offer this personality help, it's just they see it as someone who's just trying to, take something from them. And it's just like seeing Sean Astin cry and then slip and slide down this like hill or this staircase is just, and then he gets mad.
Yeah. Then he sees the food down there, and
then
he's like,
gets mad.
That motherfucker.
Seeing Sean Astin go from how he didn't get a Best Supporting Actor.
Oh, he should have won. Let alone get like nominated. He should have won.
Yeah, Ellie. Yeah, how he didn't get nominated for this movie is beyond me. Because when he goes from just utterly defeated to him realizing, seeing the Lambus bread validates that he wasn't wrong. That he's been right about Gollum this whole time, that he's trying to turn Frodo against him, and then he gets so fucking pissed.
He gets super mad, yeah.
He gets
and he's determined.
Mad. Yes. I'd like to fire under his ass.
He's like, nah, fuck this. I'm not gonna let my friend
get killed. He's like, I don't care how cold, hungry,
crackhead.
or tired I am. I'm gonna crack skulls.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but his performance is so good.
Yeah,
like it's so because like he's such an important character thematically. Like all the things that he does. Like Frodo is the protagonist, and he's the one who makes all these choices that matter for the film. But without characters like Sam, like this whole thing would fail.
It's the same with Luke Skywalker. Luke Skywalker isn't all that interesting, quite frankly. In the beginning, he really isn't. He's a farm boy on a shitty dirt planet. Like he's not all that interesting. But it's people like Leia and Luke and Obi-Wan and Yoda, even C-3PO and R2-D2. Like it's the characters that they surround themselves with that make them better. Our protagonist isn't necessarily. That's why we like anti-heroes so much. Anti-heroes are always way more interesting. Hence Han Solo. Like it's just how it is. But the thing about Frodo is that he's good. At heart, Frodo is good. He is a good person. And at heart, he's trying to help Gollum. Because he sees, like, I think he even says to Sam, like, I need to know he can come back. I need to know I can come back.
Yeah. Yeah. And we're even talking about, like, in the first film, like, he had a really nice life set up for him, and this whole thing kind of derailed it. Like he got to live in Bag End, which is basically a mansion, a hobbit mansion.
He inherited wealth.
Yeah, he was gonna be happy.
He was gonna be able to just wander the field, smoke some weed, and read his poetry, man.
Yeah, read poetry.
like the life. And even going back to Frodo needing to know that Gollum can be saved. Luke Skywalker needed to know Darth Vader could be saved. Is my dad still in there? It's a hero's. Because
the same darkness is in him.
Exactly, the same darkness. Is in him.
which is why he had the thing at the cave where he sees his father. Well, he doesn't know it. He sees Vader. He attacks Vader, and then he sees that it's himself.
Exactly.
Yeah. So then we got the suicide missions about to happen. So the soldiers are on horseback and they're going through, and you see all these women. They're laying wreaths of flowers at their feet.
It's a funeral. It's a funeral. That's what it is. It's not a good luck. It's a never gonna see you again. Never gonna see you.
Yeah, which is it's nice in a very sort of dark kind of way. At least they get that kind of a send off. That's people care. People appreciate what they're doing.
And their leader isn't even there.
No. And this is where we get the official evil eating from Denethor.
So
where he's oh man, it's just like that's such a great trope, the evil eating. Like they really kind of lay some of it on. Because like he's like eating something and then it's red and then it looks like blood is in his
he's
mouth.
like a tomato and he just like
yeah.
Gollum at one point during his transformation at the beginning of it was like eating a fish and his mouth is just like
he's got like 3 teeth left.
Please go to dentist. Like, oh my
god. I don't think the dentist can do anything more.
No, he's pretty screwed at that point. Yeah.
He'd get some dentures. So and then he's like, oh, Pippin, sing for me. He's like, oh, I don't have any songs for these hollowed halls. He's like, oh, I don't care, just sing something. He sings a really great song. Really great song. It's fantastic. And then we get this whole montage as they're riding towards Osgiliath, and it's like it's kind of great because the orcs kind of like they're attacking us. Okay,
not intimidated in the slightest.
No. They basically kill everybody. Like we don't even see the death. All we see is them fire some arrows.
You don't need to. Yeah.
That's it. And they're all dead. And he doesn't care at all. He does not care at all. Doesn't even think twice about. He's not there. He's just eating some food in this hall. And then
he's gonna have a really good night's sleep.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He's gonna sleep real great. So then we catch up with the Rohirrim, and they're mustering their armies, and so Aragorn and Theoden are like looking over this ridge, and they're seeing all the people that are there, and he's like, oh, 6,000 spears. It's less than half what I hoped for. So it's like, so Eowyn is like kind of like sort of helping Merry put on some armor and use a sword and stuff like that, and Mary's like all excited. And then we get this whole thing where like Éomer is like, nah, he's not gonna fight. He's doubtful. He's very doubtful of his abilities.
Yeah. I don't doubt the will of his heart, just the length of his arm.
Yeah.
Which is like kind of a fair point. I mean,
it is sort of a fair point. But he does say like later, and again, I'm pretty sure this is like not in the theatrical. He's like, he doesn't have the stomach for battle. Like when it's really happens and people are killing each other and there's this, it gets really nasty. Like he's going to run, and he should run. That's what he says. I
feel like he's saying that more to Éowyn. He knows his sister pretty well. I feel like he's like saying that about Mary, but he's saying it to Éowyn.
Oh, to her about like,
I think
because she wants to fight too. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and he knows that. He's grown up with her his whole life. He knows that she can probably handle herself, but he's like, I don't want that for my sister to like, no, ew.
Yeah. And we actually get a very interesting scene that's only in the extended later on when one part of a battle is over with the two of them. So I think that's a part of it too, is like I think a lot of them basically they're coming to the realization like, oh, we're all just gonna die. Now again, I feel like I'd rather die fighting in Armageddon than have to live in the world where, you lose. Like, I'd rather die fighting the Nazis than have to live in occupied France. I mean, there's always a resistance. But in this world, like, this is it.
This is
this is it. If they lose this battle, the entire planet will be covered in darkness, and it is apocalyptic.
The stakes are very, very high. Very, very high.
Yeah. And so Aragorn does all this mystical crazy stuff. Like they keep talking about like, oh, this mountain path and it's cursed and it's haunted, blah blah blah. And we get all this like really kind of spooky stuff. And then we see this horse kind of going up the hill. And then Aragorn goes in to this tent, like the king's tent, basically. And then Theoden's like, oh, I'll take my leave. And then
Theoden looks like a bomb just got dropped on him. He's like, dude, I gotta
go. So Elrond is there. And then he's like, he basically tells him like, hey, you guys don't have enough. Oh, so yeah, he probably told Theoden this too. It's like, hey, you guys don't have enough troops because like they have a ridiculous. So like, first off, just the army of orcs and all that stuff is already larger than what the forces, the human forces are. Mm-hmm. So on top of that, they also have armies that are allied with them that are humans from the south. So some of them are pirates. Some of them are, these people that we saw in the second movie who they ride elephants and shit, giant elephants. And so basically he's saying, hey, there's going to be a surprise attack of pirates coming from the south, and you guys are far outnumbered. So the only way, and he's like, there's not enough troops. It's like, well, you can get the people who dwell in the mountain. He's like, no, those people are traitors and cowards and assholes.
Ghosts.
Ghosts. Basically, the story there is like, I guess in the previous war against. Oh no! Was it the actual war against Sauron that they betrayed?
Sauron. I think it was what's his name? Isildur, who made the deal.
Yeah. Exactly. So Isildur makes this deal with some people, and they're like, hey, if you'll fight with us against the forces of Mordor, right? And they're like, yeah, of course we will. And then the fight came, and they said no, and so then Isildur cursed them. And so because they were cursed, I mean, this is like thousands of years ago, right? so they've been ghosts since this point. But if they fulfill their oath, maybe they'll be released of this. And so basically, Elrond is saying like, you need to go get these ghost people in the mountains to fight for you.
I mean, it's kind of a great army. They can't get tired. They're not going to get wounded. They can't die.
Yeah, 100%. And he's like, oh, but they're cursed. They're oath breakers. And he's like, but they will answer to the king of Gondor. And then he presents him the sword, which is now Anduril, the Flame of the West, forged from the swords of Narsil, which is pretty fucking epic. And he's like, fulfill your destiny. He's like, okay, and he takes the sword, and this is it. And so he's going to take that path down the mountain side, leaving everyone else, unfortunately. So they're all going into battle, but he's going somewhere else. And so they kind of think like, what's he doing? But he's going to try and get this army of ghosts to fight on their side.
Yeah.
And then we get this interesting Éowyn Aragorn scene, and she's like begging him to stay. And then he says, it is but a shadow and a thought that you love. I cannot give you what you seek. So we can't be together. Sorry. Goodbye.
There you go. Yeah. Let her down gently, man.
Yeah. Yeah. But then, of course, Gimli and Legolas are not going to let him go by themselves.
Oh, God, no, of course not.
And so the three of them are going down this little path. And then again, in another extended scene, Éowyn and Theoden sort of have a talk where he's like, when I'm gone, I want you to reign in my stead until things are, brought back into balance at the end of this massive war. So then they find this little thing in the mountain that allows them to go in, this little passageway. And then on top of the passageway, it says, like, the way is shut and the dead keep it. The way is shut. That's what the inscription reads. And then they go in, and like there's this kind of joke, like Gimmy's like, oh no, like what do you say? It's something like an
elf will go into a mountain, but a dwarf will not.
But a dwarf will not. And he's like, oh, I have to do it.
Like, gosh, son of a bitch.
And then he goes in there. Yeah, he's super scared. So Theoden tells Merry, like, hey, I appreciate all the help, but can't have you join us because you can't have you be a
ceremonial soldier. Yeah. You don't really do anything.
Yeah. I don't actually expect you to fight.
Yeah.
He's like, I want to fight. I want to help my friends. Like, I've said enough. Goodbye. And then they're all, because it's like a 3 days ride to Minas Tirith, and so they have all the people that they have that are going on this ride. And but then Eowyn picks him up. It's like, ride with me. He's like, yeah.
He's like, yeah, girl.
So the war in Minas Tirith, I think the name of this battle is like, actually no, this is different. So the Pelennor Fields is the one where when the Rohirrim actually show up, I believe. This is basically like an invasion. So the war is about to begin. And again, we see this massive army that they have, with like hell of people. So, and then basically, meanwhile, like Aragorn and the other two are like going into this mountain. It's really creepy. They're like they start stepping on skulls, like human skulls. Like they're walking and they don't know where they are, and then the mist kind of dissipates and they see that they're stepping on skulls. He's like, hey, don't look down, and of course Gimli looks down. The dead do not suffer the living to pass. And then we see this whole army of ghost people. And then Aragorn's like, I summon you to fulfill your oath. He pulls out the sword. And then Legolas shoots an arrow at the king and it just goes right through him. So they're totally incorporeal. They can harm you, but you can't harm them.
Lord of the Rings Barbossa was not impressed.
No. You best start believing in ghost stories because you're in one.
I know. It's so funny when I think about it. I'm like, wow, it's basically just Pirates of the Caribbean and Lord of the Rings and Pirates of the Caribbean are the same thing.
Yeah.
The same curse.
Yeah.
But hey, it's a curse that works. It's a curse that works.
Exactly. And it happens again because it works, like you said. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. So then he's like, the king tries to attack Aragorn and he blocks it with the sword, and then he can actually harm him. And he's like the line was broken. It's like it's been remade. It's like, and Aragorn's face like, I asked you to fulfill your oath. What say you? And they all just start laughing. What say you? And then they disappear. And then this was something that they shot. They didn't shoot this until like 2004. Like all these skulls falling, just like thousands of skulls falling.
So morbid.
Yeah, super morbid.
Well, they've been in those hills being ghosts like for thousands of years, and travelers might be passing through. Poor sons of bitches.
Yeah, and then they kill him. Yeah. So then they all have to leave. So they escape this place, 3 of them, and they're like, oh shit, I guess it's not gonna work. They're a bunch of cowards.
Ew.
And then they see the pirates' ships going down the river, and they're like, "Oh shit, this is really bad."
Doesn't Peter Jackson play one of the pirate
Oh yeah,
masters or not masters, like captains or something like that?
He's
good.
On this ship. He is on this ship, absolutely. And then the ghost dude king appears. He's like, "We fight." So they're on their side. Very, very helpful.
I really like how the ghosts look too. I think it's a pretty neat design.
It's really cool. It's really cool. So Faramir's body gets dragged up by a horse. And he's not dead, but very injured.
He's got a few arrows in him.
Unfortunately for him, his dad is not going to help with that situation. His dad's not going to
make the situation better.
No.
That is not Denethor's MO.
No, that's not his MO at all. So the invasion is about, or the siege, I should say. The siege is about to occur. So the orcs catapult some skulls, some human decapitated heads into the city. Yeah, pretty bad. Denethor then, which shot is this? Yeah, so he like, because there's like a sort of, I don't know what you call it, maybe like a pinnacle or something. There's like this way high up portion of the city that oversees these fields. So he's walking out there because they see his son, and he sees the invading army, which is fucking massive. I mean, this army is massive. And he's like, we're dead. We're all dead. Abandon your posts. Flee for your lives.
Flee for your lives. And then he just gets bammed right on the head.
Yeah. Gandalf knocks him the fuck out.
Finally.
And he assumes control. He's like...
And everyone's fine with it. Everyone's fine with this coup. And they're totally okay with it because they're like, okay, at least with Gandalf, we have a fighting chance.
Yeah. Yeah.
We won't die as quickly.
And then the war is on. The war begins. They start sieging, and then like they have their own kind of turnbuckets, and they're firing boulders at the invading army. And yeah, it's a real battle. The Nazgul are flying, and they're taking stuff out. I mean, that's like their biggest advantage, is that they have these Nazgul and they have air superiority.
Yeah.
Pippin actually ends up killing an orc, and so yeah, it's a full-on battle at this point. So the orcs, they try to, so there's this massive wall, and the orcs are trying to penetrate it, but they use this kind of small battering ram, and it doesn't work, and they all get killed. And then he's like, bring the wolf's head. And so the wolf's head is a 100-foot long battering ram.
Yeah, that'll do it. That's gonna get the job done.
And they call it Grond. So Grond.
Of course, it has a fucking name.
Grond.
Everything has a name. They even name the battering rams. What are your catapults names? What are your trebuchets names?
Yeah, they probably did have a name if you read the pages and pages and pages of details in the books. So Aragorn, and so Aragorn and the other two, they show up at this basically wherever like the pirates are gonna take port, and it's like, hey, you shall not enter Gondor. Turn around, and we'll allow you to live. And they're like, what? It's like 3 of you guys. We don't care. And then like he's like, hey, fire a warning shot. Legolas over the captain's like left ear. It's like, yeah, be real, and Gimli's like, be real careful. He like kind of like messes up his shot so that he ends up shooting and killing Peter Jackson. Yeah, Peter Jackson's the one that dies. It's kind of funny. And then they're like, they still won't stop, and then they attack, and the Ghost Army attacks too. And they're like, holy shit. Like they were not expecting the Ghost Army.
Surprise, bitch.
Surprise, yep. So Frodo and Gollum, they finally get to the tunnel. And it's like, I think Gollum said, the tunnel, or something like that. You must enter the tunnel.
And Frodo's like, I really don't want to.
Yeah, he's like, oh, well, you could go back. You could do that. And Frodo's like, I can't go back. I have to. So he goes in, and then, it's all bad.
It is immediately abandoned.
It's immediately abandoned. Like, come follow me. And yeah, Gollum's just fucking with him. And then he realizes, because like then you start seeing all these cobwebs, and like there's like a dead raven. There's all these skeletons inside of the web, and he's like, dude, I got screwed.
I've made a huge mistake.
Yeah. And this is the scene we were talking about later, where Sam is climbing down, and then he sees the bread down there, and then he's like pissed, and then he gets determined. He looks up, and he's like, okay, I'm gonna go save him. So then Frodo's lost, but he's like, then he starts thinking about Galadriel, and he's like, oh yeah, she gave me this thing, the light of the whatever you call it, the star, the brightest star. Like he has the actual light of a star in his pocket. So he lights it, and of course, what's right behind him? The giant spider, Shelob. And so then he just starts running, and then it gets, we're full on in a horror movie, basically.
Yeah.
It's really scary. And then he runs. I think this is the scene, right, where he runs into the web.
Yeah, he has to like hack himself out. Yeah.
Yeah, and then he ends up like losing Sting. Like he has to drop it. And And Gollum's just like singing. He's like, "Naughty little fly, why does it cry? Caught in a web, soon it will be eaten." But Frodo actually gets out of the situation.
Yeah, he's pretty resourceful, you know.
He gets out.
He gets out of it.
He gets out of the situation.
Self-preservation, man.
And then he gets jumped by Gollum. Gollum just jumps on him, and then they're fighting, and then he kind of throws him away or whatever. Doesn't kill him, he just throws him.
And I think he throws him into a crevasse or something like that.
He does, yeah. We never see him really die.
No.
Until the end, but like he's always like getting thrown somewhere, lost somewhere. But he's very resilient. And then, but Frodo's sort of out of it, and he has a clear path to how to get to Mordor, and so he's on his own and he's going. So the war in Minas Tirith continues, and this is where Denethor decides, I'm going to burn myself in Faramir in a ritual. Bring wood and oil is what he says.
It's not like we need those resources for anything else now.
And they're also like he's being accompanied by soldiers.
Yeah, it's not like we don't need those resources somewhere else right now. He's just stealing resources and being a prick.
He's a worthless piece of trash.
Yeah, he sucks.
So Grond finally breaks through, and then I really like this scene. So Gandalf's like, whatever comes through there, you are soldiers of Gondor. You have to stand your ground.
I love his pep talks. He's just like, fucking soldiers of Gondor. You're going to kill whatever comes through there.
And it was great. So Grond breaks through, and then I don't know what they're called, but those like really kind of large creatures.
The cave trolls?
Are those trolls? Are those cave trolls?
They look like the cave trolls from the first movie.
Yeah. The trolls come through, and even like Gandalf has this look like, oh shit, they sent like a dozen cave trolls at us, and they're fighting. Again, they're fighting for their lives, and it's really bad. So then we pick up with Frodo again, and he's continuing to Mordor, but he doesn't notice that he's being stalked by the giant spider. And this is like really pretty creepy.
Yeah.
Because she's like crawling up there, following him. And he's walking, and then, but he, you always get that feeling like when the hairs stand up on your neck, you're like, something's wrong.
And there's no music. Usually something that is bad is going to happen is preluded by no music and no sound.
Yeah, and so he's
the
like
breathing of the character, like their footsteps, and then
Yeah. So he's like walking, and then he's like, okay, hold on, something's following me. And then he turns around, nothing's there. And then he turns around again, and then he gets hit with the stinger, like right in his chest. And then he's paralyzed. And then she starts wrapping him up into a little cocoon, a little web cocoon. Yeah, it's pretty bad. But then Sam comes with Sting, and he's like, let go of him. And then they have this massive fight. Him and Shelob. And he finally like fights it off, and he like cuts the stinger off, and he uses the light to like tell it to back off and get away from him. But then he looks at Frodo, and he's like, "Oh, Frodo's dead. Shit, fuck, sucks." Because he looks pretty dead.
He looks pretty dead. Yeah, like I think it's only normal for Sam to like. Sorry, Ellie was really digging around in something.
Oh.
I was a little sorry. She found what she was looking for. Yeah, I mean, of course, you would think he was dead. He's just a hobbit from the Shire. He doesn't know anything about like
giant spiders
and shit. Like he probably just smashes a spider at home.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, like, when spiders eat something, they liquefy the inside of the thing's body.
Yeah, it's pretty nasty. It's pretty.
So I mean, you could easily think that it's a giant spider that could have done that to him, liquefied the inside of his body. I mean, he looked like he was dead. I mean, they painted him white, and that scene painted him so white. But then some orcs come in. So then, like, basically Sam kind of hides, and then the orcs like, oh, look, this is something that Shelob left here. And they say like, oh, he's just paralyzed, but he's gonna wake up with a bad headache later. Let's take his body and steal his stuff. And Sam's like, shit. And so then he has to fall after them. So and then the Minas Tirith battle is continuing. At this point, the army is coming through because like they got through the front gate, and now they're just fully invading the city. And then I think at some point it's like Pippin tells Gandalf like, oh, like they're gonna burn Faramir's body. We need to do something. He's like, okay, come on, get on my horse. They go up there, and then they get confronted by the Witch King of Agmar, comes down on his fell beast. Then they're like about to fight each other, and then I forget, he said what's his name? The Witch King said something to Gandalf. And he blows up his staff. He just blows it up.
Yeah, he just blows up his staff. I think that shakes Gandalf just a little bit. He's like, okay.
Yeah. I think Shadowfax is also gone. He's like, I'm out.
Yeah, Shadowfax is like, yeah, just you're on your own, bro.
Like, I'm Lord of Horses. I'm not here to fight a fell beast.
I'm not here to fight a fell beast, nor can I. I don't have hands. I have hooves.
Yeah, I have little hooves.
I have little hooves that have teeth, very sharp teeth, and I don't feel like being lunched today.
Yeah, exactly. Never get between a Nazgul and its prey. So, just as he's about to strike the Witch King, like, you hear the horn of Rohan, like what? And so then he leaves. He flies away.
Gandalf's like, oh, thank God.
Yeah.
What did you need to do, Pippin?
Yeah. And then Theoden comes over this ridge, and we see the entire Rohan army is there. And then we get this great. I just love this shot. Like, this is another shot where we see the invading army, and it's like, again, this is Armageddon. This is the site of the final battle. This is it. And it's like this mad, because, like, again, some part of the army is already inside of the city, but the entire army, the invading force, is like almost endless. It's endless, and they're about to go fight that. They're about to go fight that endless horde. And then, of course, again, Theoden gets all these great lines. Forth and fear no darkness. Arise, riders of Rohan. Spears shall be shaken. Swords shall be splintered. Sword day, a red day. Ire the sun rises. He's like, ride now. To ruin the world's ending.
To the world's ending. It's just like, damn, okay, I'm going to follow that guy.
Yeah,
that
death.
Yep.
They all scream death.
Yeah, and for the orc army too, they seem a little shook because they have to kind of like regroup. Oh,
they're shook, yeah.
Too. They're like, oh fuck, we're trying to invade Minas Tirith, and now we got to turn half of us around, regroup while they're charging on horseback.
Yeah, and it's basically downhill. It seems like it's basically downhill.
Always downhill.
For them. Yeah, I know, but that's why that's the advantage of being a horse lord. You always get on the top of the hill. And then your enemies are always at the bottom, and you just crush them.
Yeah, they ain't the horse lords for nothing, bro.
Yeah, and so then they ride, they charge, they do this massive charge. And so the orcs are like, they're firing some arrows, and they're like, fire at will, but there's just too many of them, and they absolutely flatten the orcs.
Oh yeah, like literally flatten.
Yeah, like you see some dudes on horses, and they run over like 2 dozen people. Yeah, and that's it. And then they get run over, and then they get killed. And they're like, they have spears.
The horses used for these movies is crazy.
It is crazy. I'm pretty sure, like, especially in some of these, I'm pretty sure there are CG horses.
Oh, I'm sure there are, but still, that's a lot. That's the ones that aren't are like that's a lot of horses. Yeah, and the ones that aren't are like you have to render that shit and copy and paste and all that. It's like
a lot of work went into it.
I don't want to minimize it to just copy and pasting. I know somebody already said that recently, but.
And so they, the Rohirrim have arrived, and they've actually turned the tide. Yeah, they've really turned the tide in this battle. And then of course, meanwhile, Denethor is doing his thing. He's on a pyre. He's pouring oil over his face, and it's kind of crazy. You see the oil hit Faramir, and he's like waking up.
And it's like, I feel like shit, but I can't open my eyes just yet.
Set a fire in our flesh, is what he says.
God, what a prick.
What a fucking idiot. And then Gandalf busts in, stay this madness.
Is he back on Shadowfax again?
He actually is on Shadowfax.
I think Shadowfax is like hiding behind a corner.
Oh, it's over? He's gone? Okay, I'm back.
Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah, it's like Silver. Hi-ho, Silver.
Oh my god.
Because Denethor gets kicked in the face by Shadowfax actually in the scene. He gets kicked in the face.
Probably his jaw. I think it would have been I would have loved that. It would have broken his jaw because then he can frickin' talk.
Yeah, man. I mean, getting kicked by a horse is not good. So yeah,
tell you.
Oh, yeah, it's real bad. It's really bad. really bad. It's powerful. There's a reason why there's a term horsepower.
Yeah, don't stand behind a horse.
We equate certain things with how many horses it is valued at.
Mm-hmm.
So Denethor, he gets kicked in the face, and then right before he's about to die, he sees that Faramir is actually alive, and then he catches fire. And then Gandalf says, "Oh, there goes Denethor, son of Ixalion, steward of Gondor." And then he's on fire, and he jumps off.
And nobody notices. Nobody gives a fuck.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody cares.
I love this shot of him running on fire, and then he jumps, and then he just.
But it just goes to show you that, like, the bigger picture. Yeah, you have this leader who's on fire and hysterical and throws himself over a ledge. But the it's so much bigger than that.
There's a massive war going on. Yeah,
no one's gonna notice until like weeks later. Like, what happened to Denethor? And again, I was like, oh yeah.
His melancholy took him. I think that's basically what they would say.
His melancholy got to him like really bad. He's a prick.
But he's gone now. And so the Rohirrim were sort of successful. Like basically the part of the army is starting to retreat past them. He's like, make free the city, and then they start hearing some other, another army is coming, and then they see, oh shit, it's these army from the south on Oliphants are coming. And it's
shit.
Like, oh shit.
Well, nobody said it was gonna be easy, guys.
No.
Thanos, he's pretty good. He's like, okay, let's regroup. Let's
regroup.
Charge. And we'll get stomped a few times.
And they charge these fucking elephants. On top of that, the elephants they created this. What'd you call that thing that's between their tusks?
A net, maybe, or some kind of bridle or something. Yeah, you have to control their head too. A little bit,
but it's real gnarly, and so they then charge at these giant elephants, and they have this thing that they use to like kind of kill people. I mean, it's just like it never ends. It just never ends. It never gets good.
Well, no, you got to keep throwing obstacles in front of your characters. You can't make it easy for them. No one's gonna watch or be interested if it's easy.
So Eowyn takes out one of the Oliphants by like slashing at its legs, like its front legs and the hind legs, and the thing falls and dies. But then they kind of get toppled because a giant elephant fell on them, pretty much. So the two of them are like, so they also get separated. Her and Mary get separated, and then she in the extended. This is only in the extended. She basically is being stalked by Harvey, which should maybe be familiar. Yeah,
that should actually probably tell you something.
Yeah. I feel like they did that on purpose.
I think they did that on purpose. Now that I know what I know about the behind the scenes and everything like that, and what obviously we know about Harvey Weinstein and this character based on Harvey freaking Weinstein, kind of seemed like that was
yeah, and he's even like, I think his arm's chopped off or something. Like he's very injured, but he's like crawling after her in a very creepy way.
So creepy and disturbing about something crawling at you. It's just so uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's very creepy.
And for lack of a better word, groping their way towards you. Hi, you.
It's pretty accurate. So, then we see that Gandalf and Mary, they're like, so the city basically didn't get totally freed, and so there are some other forces that are like about to bust down a door and kill him. And then Pippin's like, "Oh, I didn't think it would end this way." And then Gandalf's like, "And no, the journey doesn't end here. Death is just another path, one that we all must take." The gray rain curtain, of this world rolls back, and all turns to silver glass, and then you see it. It's like, oh, see what? The white shores and beyond, a far green country under a swift sunrise.
That's very
Again, these are things from the book, and it's like, it's very, very cool. That's like heaven.
He's already died.
Yeah. Yes.
But it is very comforting, and I think that's what he's trying to do for.
Yeah. No, for Pippin, it's very comforting. He's like, oh, I'd like to see that. He's like, yeah, it's exactly. You don't have to be afraid of death in their universe.
Well, I mean, that's why we have like things like heaven or Elysium or Valhalla. It's just like, it's just another
the field of reeds,
path, dude. It's another adventure. You don't have to be scared. Like,
yeah. And so then, in this battle, again, so this is the battle of Pelennor Fields at this point. Théoden's like, to me, rally to me, and then the fucking Witch King comes in and just like takes him out.
And he has that oh shit moment.
Yeah. He kind of like, he's like, of course. Shit. And yeah,
well, this wasn't on my bingo card.
Yeah, feast on his flesh. So then Éowyn intervenes.
Yeah, she does.
Like, do not come between a Nazgul and his prey. Then she chops his head off. And then he's like, okay.
A fell beast's head off. This girl is awesome.
She did. Yeah, absolutely. So, then he's like, okay, all right, I'll fight you one-on-one. And he pulled out a massive mace, like a massive mace, and he's swinging it around like it's nothing.
She's just kind of like she's kind of turtling a little bit.
Yeah.
And she's got like this wooden shield.
Well, it's not like you can get close to him because he's got this swing radius and he's got this massive thing.
Oh yeah, he doesn't have to work very hard.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to work very hard now.
And then he whatever it is, yeah. And it hits her shield and she's done. She's like that broke her arm.
It broke her arm for sure.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and then we see then again, this is another thing that was in the extended only. The Ghost Army arrives into this battle. And then they're just like they're killing everything. The Ghost Army and the three of them.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's really sweet. And then like the Witch King is about to kill Éowyn, and then Mary comes in and stabs him in the side, and then that like messes him up really bad. I think his sword gets incinerated, like it just disappears.
Happens,
yeah, it just totally dissipates.
It also fucks up Mary a little bit too.
Yeah, because he's holding his hand and he's messed up. I think that basically takes him out. He's like he like they rediscover him there like later again in an extended scene where Pippin finds him. And he's like, fool, no man can kill me. And then she says, I am no man. And she stabs him in the face.
It's
kills him.
Best moment ever. Yeah. It's just like, yeah, I am no man.
Yeah.
That's what I think of you, stupid little crown.
Yeah. And then she's like, again, she's trying. Harvey comes after her. Harvey's chasing her down. He's like, about to die. So this is my one quibble. So then we see in this extended scene, this guy gets killed. Harvey gets killed by Gimli and Aragorn. I kind of wish that she killed him.
Yeah, I would have, but she's also got a broken arm.
Yeah,
and she just stabbed the Nazgul, like the Witch King of Angmar, and it kind of fucked up her hand too. She can't really defend herself too much. All she can do is try and get away. So I kind of get why she didn't kill him, but I mean, it's already pretty sad. I feel like I feel like I'm already pretty satisfied with what she's done before Harvey gets, impaled or whatever happens to him.
Yeah, he gets chopped by Gimli and Aragorn. They double team him. It's kind of funny because they're just kind of just killing stuff that's in their way, and so he's just in their way, and then they just kill him. And then we get this great scene where Legolas takes on an Oliphant by himself, and he does this whole thing.
And gravity,
it's very cool,
physics defying.
Yeah.
But like a butterfly.
He's like the one superhero in this universe. Everyone else is mostly mortal, but he's like a legit superhero.
Everyone else is Batman. He's got all the superpowers.
Exactly. Yeah, and he's Superman, and he's like, oh yeah, I'll take this thing out by myself. It's a very cool scene. Where he jumps on the nose and he jumps onto the thing, and then the thing's trying to with his trunk is trying to slap him away, but he evades it. Shooting guys, shoot. He gets up there. He cuts the because they have a saddle, but it's a massive saddle because it's a massive elephant. Mm-hmm. Cuts the saddle so the whole saddle falls off, and then he shoots 3 arrows into the head of the elephant. It dies, and then he kind of slides off of it hella cool. He's like, yeah. And then Gimli's like, that only counts as one.
Of course.
Yeah. Yeah, and then the Ghost Army kills everything in its path and frees the city. And yeah, they won the battle. Éowyn then watches Théoden die, and it's kind of interesting because he sees her and he's like, oh, it's you. I guess he probably thinks he's dead, right?
Maybe.
Or something.
I don't know, because in the previous movie, he kind of has this thing where he's like, I know your face. I kind of feel like it's just what are you grumpy about? Stop it. I feel like it's kind of just something between them. Like maybe when she was little and hiding and he was like hide and seek or some shit. And he's like, I know your face. Like, I know you, kid. Yeah. Like, I feel like it's just something sweet between them because there is something very father-daughter. Like, even though he's her uncle, he's basically her dad.
Yeah. Well, so. Is their dad dead?
I don't know that their parents are ever mentioned. I just assumed they were orphaned and they didn't take care of them.
Yeah. And then again, in another extended scene, there's sort of like a montage of people finding other people in this battle that were injured. And then Éomer goes crazy when he sees Éowyn. Yeah, he finds her in this battle and he's like,
he probably assumes she's dead. She's collapsed next to his uncle, who's obviously dead. And yeah.
And then they basically they take her somewhere to heal her in Minas Tirith.
Like a hospital or something.
Yeah, it's like a hospital. And then Pippin finds Merry, and then he kind of helps him out. So then, back to Frodo. Frodo awakens. He's tied up, and he hears some orcs like kind of fighting over his belongings because he had that mithril chainmail, which is like what did he say in the first movie? Gandalf said is like worth more than the entire Shire.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the whole Shire.
Yeah, and then Frodo also doesn't have the ring anymore. It's gone. He's like, oh shit. So Sam then comes in and he basically kills a bunch of people and then frees Frodo. By the way, and they also kind of like give us a little bit of a taste of like how the orc, goblin, Uruk-hai armies deal with each other, and which is to say that they all hate each other.
Yeah, nobody gets along.
Yeah.
Ellie.
Oh, the mailman's here?
Probably. Ellie. 1 second.
Yeah.
Hey. What are you doing? I know. I don't like the alarm. Come here. Yeah, little toes. Yep, you're so fierce. Scary. You're like Call of the freaking Wild over here.
Yeah.
All right.
So, so Frodo gets saved by Sam, and Sam's like, "Oh, I took the ring because I thought you were dead." And then, again, the paranoia strikes into Frodo. He's like, "Give me the ring back. Give it back to me." And then Sam again. It starts putting its hooks into Sam, and he's like, got this like, no. No, but then he gives it back to him, and Frodo's like, you don't understand, like it's really, really bad, and I don't want you. This is my burden. I don't want anyone else to have to take it.
Yeah.
So then they put on some clothes, like the enemy's clothes. Basically, they do that classic trope, dressing like the enemy, and then they make their way to Mount Doom. So so they've won. They've won this one battle, this Battle of Pelennor Fields, but they still like. There's still a massive army in Mordor. Still, it's even bigger. And so, they won the battle, but they haven't won the war. Yeah. So Aragorn comes up with this idea, like, hey, look, Sam and Frodo are still alive and they're still out there. So what we can do is we can draw the enemy out of Mordor to give them a clear path to destroy the ring. And Gimli's like, let me see. High certainty of death, small chance of success. Sounds perfect. When do we go? Let's do it. What are we waiting for? And so then again, this is another scene that's in the extended. Aragorn takes the Palantir, and then he basically he's calling he's calling Sauron. He gives him a phone call, Skypes him. He's like, hey buddy, I know you've been looking for me, but I'm here and I've got the sword that killed you before.
I think it freaks Sauron out a little bit.
Yeah. So then Sauron shows he shows her Arwen dying, because Arwen is, I guess, she's dying for some reason, right? There's something.
I think the life of the elf is leaving her, or something like that. Her fate is tied to whether or not they win. It's tied to all the good and pure and great shit, basically, about Middle Earth. So if they lose, Arwen's gonna die.
Mm-hmm. Again, For her, I mean, it makes sense.
The light of the evening star is leaving or something like that. That kind of sounds familiar.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, something like that. It's a little, I don't know. There's some things that are like kind of, it's like they don't really define exactly what's going on.
Yeah.
You know?
It doesn't really bother me. It's just there. It's just
it's
okay,
just there.
Sure. Yeah. Like the elves have been there since the beginning of time. Maybe they are tied to Middle Earth. That I would probably buy that.
Yeah, and this is a scene you can tell they had a hard time figuring out like how to really integrate it, because there's a kind of weird transition into the next scene. Like he drops that thing that she gave him, and it breaks, and then it's like, oh, by the way, we're riding off into battle. It's like, okay. Oh yeah, and then we get there's another scene that's only extended where we get this Ao and Faramir love story get started.
Yeah, like very brief.
They're both in. They're both in an infirmary, and they're like talking as they're watching the army go off.
Yeah, he's a little smitten.
Yeah,
he's a little on the smitten side. He's like, oh, she's cute.
Yeah. What was her name? Miranda Otto.
Miranda Otto. Yeah.
Miranda Otto. Yeah, she's.
I think she's really pretty.
Oh yeah. So Frodo and Sam, unfortunately, they're like walking towards Mordor, and then an army is coming, and they try to act like, oh, we're not doing anything, we're just like hanging out, and then this Taskmaster guy is like, hey, you gotta get in line, like, what are you doing, like, join the army. and so now they're like in this army.
You complete
basic. Yeah, like, oh shit, we're in this army. And then it's like, by the way, I love, like, again, for a lot of these roles they got like New Zealand guys, and so they all have these like Kiwi accents.
Yep.
And so then there's an inspection.
Like you wouldn't, like, why would they have an inspection of a cardinal? Sorry. Like, why would they of all armies have an inspection? Like, you're just a bunch of fucking orcs. But I guess it's funny to think that they have some kind of
oversight
standard or oversight. Yeah, some kind of standard that they have to meet. And there's not enough dirt. Not enough dirt on you. Yeah.
And so then they're like, oh shit, what do we do? And Sam's like, let's just start a fight. So they start fighting each other, and then the fight kind of gets sprawled, and then they slip away while while whatever was happening. And so then they're headed to Mount Doom. But they're struggling. Like, they're mightily struggling. Like, they're running out of steam. So then they take off all the armor. They're like, we don't need this stuff anymore, let's just dump it. So they're dumping all the armor, but they're they're just done. They're done. They just don't have any gas left in the tank. So then Aragorn and company, they go to the Black Gate, and they meet again. This is another only in the extended, and this scene is really good. They meet the mouth of Sauron at the Black Gate.
Yeah, he's pretty gross.
Really gross. I mean, the way that they did that dude's mouth is like so well done. It's ridiculous. And like the way he would smile, like what what?
Just nasty.
So it's kind of funny. So they show up, and then Gandalf's like, we requested you disband your armies and retreat and leave these lands. And he's like, we're not going to do that. And then he shows them the mithril armor that Frodo had, and he like pulls it out and he gives it to them. And then they're like, oh shit. Because they don't know. They don't know what happened to him. They have no idea. And then he, but like both sides are like kind of like, they're playing poker basically. And then the dude, he's like, oh, who knew that someone so small could endure such pain?
Ugh.
He has a really interesting accent too. It's like Eastern European or something. Like,
maybe, yeah.
It's really weird. So Aragorn, it was funny. So like, my girlfriend had never seen any of these movies, so we watched them for the first time. And when it was extended, and so like when the scene came up, she was like, "Oh, you should just kill this guy. You should just chop his head off." Exactly what he did. And then Aragorn goes over and he chops his head off, kills him.
Chops his head off. Yeah.
He absolutely killed the messenger, but might as well. He's a jerk. And what is it? Gimli says like that was a really short negotiation. That's what he says. And then so there's this description of the mouth of Sauron in the book that I just wanted to share. That's really interesting. So it says, a tall evil shape mounted upon a black horse. The rider was robed in all black, and black was his lofty helm. Yet this was no ring wraith, but a living man. His name is remembered in no tale, for he himself had forgotten it. Okay, yeah. So that's pretty. So he's He doesn't even know who he is. He's just the mouth of Sauron.
Yeah, he's just the mouth of Sauron. Like, there's nothing left of him.
So then they open the gate, and then the army comes out to surround them and attack them. And then Aragorn gives a speech. It's a really cool speech. Yeah. And then we get another fun meme where Gimli's like, I never thought I'd die side by side with an elf. It's like, what about side by side with a friend?
Yeah, bro, we've been through a lot.
I can do that. Yeah.
We're friends.
And then finally Sam's like, okay, I can't carry it for you, but I can carry you.
Yeah.
And he picks Frodo up and he's carrying him. And then this is so messed up too. So like, and then Aragorn leads this charge for Frodo, all that stuff. That shot is like phenomenal. Like the way that they compose that shot is phenomenal. And then the two, Frodo and Sam, get attacked by Gollum again. Like he's up on this cliff and he just jumps down on him, and it's just like this never ends. Like he knows that they're gonna go that way, and so then he's just there. And so yeah, again, the things are just like, this is it. This is the moment.
Everything's just teetering.
Yeah. The Nazgul are coming in. They're flying down, and then basically you see Gandalf summon the eagles, basically, and then the eagles come and they're fighting the Nazgul on the fell beasts. So Frodo, Sam, and Gollum are basically all fighting, and Sam like pulls out a sword and slashes Gollum. And then while they're fighting, Frodo just runs. He's like, he finally gets a second win, and he's like, okay, I'm going to just do the thing. He runs to Mount Doom, and then Sam follows after him. So he gets into there. He gets into the mouth of the volcano where he's finally there, and the lava's erupting, and then he has the ring. And Sam's like, do it, throw it into the lava, do it, just do the thing, be done with it. And he says no, and then he puts the ring on. And then he's tempted, and then the ring is mine. And then Sam's just like, Sam is so dejected. He's just so sad.
He's like oh, fucking hell.
Because they were so close. Yeah. But then, again, this whole thing, the whole theme of this whole story, going all the way back to the first film where he's like, don't be quick to deal death to people because everyone has a part to play. Gollum attacks Frodo and bites his freaking finger off. He bites his finger off, straight up, just bites it off. And he then gets the ring. And then Frodo kind of, I don't know if he either comes to or if he's kind of like still mad and under the influence
I think at this
of the
point,
ring.
Frodo's just pissed. I don't think we've actually seen Frodo mad until he's just like, okay, I'm done with you.
And again, this is gnarly. Like the way they show his finger bitten off.
Yeah, it's pretty gross.
So then the two of them start fighting, and then they both fall off the cliff.
Yeah.
And basically we see that Frodo is hanging on for dear life, like literally hanging on to the edge of this cliff.
Yeah.
And Gollum falls into the lava, dies. Like he falls into lava and dies. Yeah. And the ring is like there sort of for a moment, and then basically Sam is gonna save Frodo, or trying to at least, and then the ring gets destroyed. Finally, the ring is finally destroyed.
There's a moment too that I really love is when Frodo first puts on the ring, and the eye just goes like,
yeah, it's like
zeroes in on it, and then when it finally melts, it's like, ah.
Yeah, it starts trembling.
Yep.
That whole thing when the eye, the pinnacle of what's it, Minas Morgul? What's the name of that? Barad-dûr. Yeah, Barad-dûr. So like the Tower of Barad-dûr explodes. That shit is so cool. Like once they've won and Sam saves Frodo and gets him out, and then they're like, because in this battle with Aragorn, they're vast number. They're all gonna die.
Oh yeah, basically. They're all gonna die.
And then finally the ring is destroyed, and then that destroys the entire army, basically. It just disbands them. Because like once they all know that, Sauron is dead, they immediately start running. Like you see some of these characters, like Aragorn was fighting a troll like one-on-one, and it was about to kill him. And then that troll's like, oh fuck this, I'm out. And he just like runs away.
The shock wave like hits everybody, and then the ground starts crumbling, and they're like, okay, I guess we lost.
Yeah, the entire army is destroyed basically, or disbanded, and all those lands are. It's like a massive earthquake happens, and then it all just collapses, and it kills a bunch of them. So in one fell swoop, everything is destroyed. They're totally annihilated.
It all just gets washed away.
And just like the explosion that happens, like when the tower collapses and the eye just explodes. Like it's unbelievable. But then the volcano erupts.
Yeah.
And you see all the characters who are like, "Yay, Frodo did it!" And then they're like, "Oh shit!"
And they're like, "He did, but
he's there,
probably dead."
Yeah. And then we see them like narrowly escaping this because like this volcano absolutely erupted. It exploded, and all this lava is flowing out. And they run and they jump onto some ledge. And even there, it's just a matter of time before the heat, or they have no food. Yeah, like they were gonna die.
Yeah.
And then they get saved by the eagles. The eagles come in, they swoop in and they take them.
Yeah.
And then Frodo wakes up in Rivendell. He's greeted by everybody: Gandalf, Merry, Pippin, Aragorn, Gimli, Legolas, and then finally Sam, and they're smiling and laughing and happy. And then basically this is like the denouement of the film. We're wrapping up all the storylines. At Minas Tirith, Aragorn is crowned the king. Finally, he gets to sit in the big chair. Aragorn kind of sings a song, which is kind of cool. Arwen is there, and then they kind of like, they're able to be together. And then we get this great moment where like Aragorn says to the hobbits, like, "My friends, you bow to no one." And then he bows, and then everyone bows to them, which is really cool. So then the four hobbits, they make it home, and they see that curmudgeon-y guy.
Yeah.
And again, it's so interesting. So they're back at the Shire, and nobody has any idea of what they've been through, or the fact that the world almost ended.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is kind of funny.
And the only people they can relate to are people who have been there or each other too. Yeah. So that's got to be hard.
Yeah, that's it. And so then Sam finally gets he finally does it. He asks Rosie Cotton to marry him. They get married. But Frodo still isn't happy. Like, all these things are happening, and he's still just not happy. He's kind of content, but he's not happy. And he just like, basically there's all this, voiceover. He's like, I'm never going to be the same after what happened.
Yeah.
And so then they're heading to Rivendell, and then we see Bilbo, and he's like really, really old now. Like, he's super old. Like, he's basically his age, pretty much. And he's like, "Oh, what happened to the ring?" And then Frodo's like, "Oh, I don't know. I think I forgot it. I think I lost it." He's like, "Oh, too bad. I would have loved to have held it again." And then he kind of goes to sleep on him or whatever. Yeah. It's kind of sweet. And then the last of the elves and the other ring bearers and people like Gandalf, the angels, basically are going to the Undying Lands, and they're saying their goodbyes, and Bilbo's going to go with them. And then Gandalf's like, "Okay, Frodo, it's time to go." And Frodo's like, "Yeah, I'm going with them too." And then the other three are like, "No, you can't leave us." He's like, "No, this is what's right for me. This is what needs to happen."
Yeah, you all have something. I just feel like he's probably just like, I don't really feel like I have anything left. I gave everything. He gave, he literally gave everything. And admittedly kind of lost himself when he decided to keep the ring. It's hard to own up to something like that and to face that every day. He probably feels a little like imposter syndrome, or feels like he's not worthy because he ultimately felt like he failed.
Yeah, that's really rough. That's a really rough way to end, because he was there and then he gave in to the temptation, like any kind of person would. This is overwhelming power. I mean, the fact that he got it there was enough of a miracle, and they won in the end. They won. They defeated the evil, but I'm sure you're totally right. That probably weighed on him. He probably feels he feels inadequate.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and he's all pale, and he's going to be in pain the rest of his life because of the the Nazgul injury, and he's just like, he just looks completely unhappy, just totally unhappy. It seems like he really tried. It seems like he really tried. He finished Bilbo's book. He added his own, story to it, but he's just like, I'm not happy. Yeah.
So then he gets on the boat, and then he's finally smiling at the end when he's heading off. He's finally happy going to heaven.
Yeah, like colors return to his cheeks. Yeah. He's not crying. Oh, I'm getting so choked up just thinking about it.
Yeah.
Before he gets his happiness. He's so despondent. He's so like melancholy,
Yeah, nothing's making him happy. Nothing being in the, he's got this mansion basically at Bag End. He's not happy.
He's wealthy. He's not happy. His friends are alive.
Yeah. He's at the bar with them. He's not happy. But this made him happy.
His best friend get married and have babies. He became an uncle probably to him, and he's just like, he's not going to find that there anymore. The Shire isn't. Oh man, the Shire isn't isn't his happy place anymore.
And again, it's like one of those things, right? It's like you can never go home again after the war, right?
Well, it's like again, like going from Tolkien's own experiences in war, like it's awful.
Yeah, it's different.
Yeah.
So then it ends with Sam and Rosie living with their daughter at Bag End. And that's it. That's Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King. Would you feel like that was too many endings, or was that just the right number of endings?
I used to think it was too many endings. I used to, but I think it's all kind of necessary.
Yeah, I think especially because when you can track like how it's about Frodo finally finding that thing, like it's sad. It's really kind of sad, but it's the way that his story needs to end.
Yeah.
Because he can't go back home again after what he experienced. Like there's just too much stuff that happened to his life. And again, it's a really tragic thing because he had a great life.
Yeah, he had a maid.
Yeah. He was really lucky. And then he got the ring, and he had to do this thing. Because otherwise the world would have ended. Like you hand the ring to anyone else, it probably would have gone bad.
Yeah.
For them, But that's his burden, and so. But at the end, this was the way his story needed to go. He needed to go to the Undying Lands and be happy in heaven or wherever he goes. Yeah. Because only like elves, angels, and ring bearers can go there.
Yeah. And that's really sweet that they allow that they respect that burden and that price that he paid that much, that that you deserve it.
Yeah, that you get a one-way ticket to heaven.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh man, cool. So we did it. We're at the end of the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Any kind of thoughts or feelings about this film or just the trilogy in general?
I just really love it. It has so many characters that you want to root for, and it has so many bad characters that are just really good at being evil. I think it's got everything. I feel more satisfied watching Lord of the Rings than I do watching Game of Thrones, because at least I know, and it's not like I feel any certain kind of way about like, oh, killing all of your heroes. I mean, after a while, that gets just tiring. The only Fellowship member who dies is Boromir. Everybody else is fine. And I kind of just want that every now and then. And that's why I really love these movies, is that I can root for these heroes. I know they're going to be okay, but I know they're going to be tested. And I really like that. I need to see people win. I like seeing people. Yeah, I'm already in real life where people don't win. You know what I mean? That's why I watch movies and stuff like
escape.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess one thing I want to just kind of comment on is like some of this film especially, there's a lot of there's basically an extra almost hour of stuff that's added just to the extended. And there's more stuff that wasn't even put into the film. So Peter Jackson shot these kind of prologues for every Fellowship character to see what happened to them. So there's stuff of Gimli's in the Glittering Mines, and Legolas is back home. And then there was even a scene shot where we see Faramir and Eowyn kind of get married or something. And there's some footage of that's out there in the universe on the internet. There was even a scene they wanted to do the scene where where Sauron actually shows up to fight Aragorn.
Oh, that actually,
I don't know if you've ever seen that.
I've heard that, yeah.
Yeah, they did some previs for it, is all they did. But like, yeah, like instead of fighting that giant troll looking thing, he fights Sauron. And then like they even had him, like he shows up as an angel, because like basically they're angelic, and then it shifts into something like demonic, and then they start fighting. That was like another scene
I
that
probably would have been fine with that, but then I think maybe it would have gotten confusing for the audience. Like, oh, is the eye, is he in a body? Like, what is it, kind of a thing? I feel like that's probably, I feel like that probably would have been a little confusing for the audience. But I mean, I think it would have been cool.
Yeah, it would have been cool.
It would have probably also been confusing. It probably wouldn't have been worth the cool factor if everyone's just like, what the fuck?
Mm-hmm. Exactly, yeah. And there was I think there was some other footage that didn't make its way into any kind of either piece of media extended or like behind the scenes extra footage. So yeah, I mean, there, we could get, like, some people were talking about there should be like a Mithril edition, like an ultimate cut, basically, with even more stuff.
And who knows? Maybe there will be one day.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah, who knows? They just released it on 4K, like I think last year or 2 years ago, something like that. Which is really good. So anyway, yeah, I mean, the films are super epic. Like, it's a miracle that they happened and succeeded the way they did.
Yeah,
it was
really
basically
glad they did.
Yeah, a guy and a country got behind him to make this film happen. It's kind of crazy. And yeah, there's just so many awesome like moments that, again, like when the Rohan army fights, that shit is super epic. Like the speech he gives. Just like the lighting of the beacons, stuff like that. Like, there's just so many. You just go on an emotional roller coaster in this film, and it's got everything. It's got everything. Yeah. So I think that's it. Any last words on The Return of the King?
No. I thoroughly enjoy them all from start to finish. I try and watch them almost once a year.
Yeah, same here. All right, cool. So yeah, I guess at some point in the future we'll talk about the Hobbit films, and of course we'll also find a way to talk about the Dark Knight Rises. I was gonna like there was something you said something about Frodo, and it made me wanna quote that line. It's like you've given them everything, you don't have to give them anything else. Like, not everything, not yet. Like, something like that is really good. Like, I really like that when he sounds like, yes.
I love when they reveal the statue. Yeah. I mean, I get a little misty eyed. I'm like, I love Batman.
Yeah.
I prefer Bale's Batman to most Batman.
But then like all the stuff with the sewer and like
it's not even just the sewer. It's not just one thing with that damn movie. It's not just one damn thing. It's like you are not landlocked. Get on a boat. Like, the fact that nobody thought to get on a goddamn boat. It's an army of 150 people?
Yeah.
His army isn't even that big. Okay, we got some criminals on it. It's like, criminals love when you pay them off to do shit. Like, it just seemed like there were so many different ways to stop Bane, and everyone turned into an idiot.
Yeah.
Everyone just turned into an idiot. And then, like, they introduced, like, these black ops guys or these special forces guys who die immediately. Immediately.
Oh my god. So yeah.
So many things that are just pointless about it. Just so utterly pointless. I don't know how he builds this connection to Selena Kyle when he's spending all his time with the other woman.
Well, they called her Miranda Tate, but she's actually Talia al Ghul.
And it's just it's like, oh, I connect with Catwoman because Catwoman and Batman. That's what they were hoping for, was because Batman and Catwoman have had this storied on again, off again thing. And it's like, yeah, well, I prefer Keaton and Michelle Pfeiffer personally. They actually spend time together. Like, that's
I don't really get why he would like her for the most part. Not that version.
I get why, but like
yeah, I don't know. But like, I get the Michelle Pfeiffer like Keaton. I get that. Like especially like I really like too with that scene where they're at that party and then they realize their identities.
Yeah, that's a great moment.
Are we supposed to fight?
I know, and she's like, oh, do we have to fight? And he's like, let's just go outside.
He's like, no, we don't have to fight.
He's like,
we can love each other.
Yeah.
Because that's what we really want to do.
We just like, we're just into each other. Like, they have like a cool connection. He's like into her, she's into him, and then with the like, I don't the thing about the Batman Catwoman thing is that usually Batman and Catwoman have chemistry. Selena Kyle and Bruce Wayne are on two completely different playing fields. And actually, I will say I thoroughly enjoy Robert Pattinson and Zoe Kravitz. I thought because again, they spend time together.
Well, what's interesting is like you can tell she really likes him. Like I really like there's a scene where she's like where he's like look at me. He like says that to her. And then she takes it as a kind of yeah, exactly. She takes it that way and he's like being very tasky.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Oh, of course he's that way." You know?
And no, I love the end of the movie when they're just like on their motorcycles or whatever it was, and I'm just like, yeah, it's just it's a cat and mouse.
And they're going,
and they go their separate
different ways. Yeah,
they go their separate ways, but they're gonna meet again. But then it's like maybe it's just I don't think Christian Bale and Anne Hathaway have very good chemistry together. That could just be it. I just don't know if they have good chemistry.
You know, and I think that they didn't do enough. They didn't do enough work to make us believe in the two of them being together.
No, like his relationship with Miranda Tate is way more believable because it's just they spend more time together.
Yeah. And we see them like do the thing. We see them do the deed with each other.
Like he settles for Catwoman. I got stabbed in the back by a woman that I was actually into, and I'm settling for Catwoman. Yeah,
absolutely. Like, and as a matter of fact, when he gets stabbed, like he kind of like lets down the persona in that scene. He doesn't use the Batman voice. He uses the normal voice. He's like, what? He's that blown away by getting portrayed. Yeah.
Yeah, now Batman doesn't settle for Catwoman. I don't believe that. No. Catwoman settles for Batman.
Yeah, I mean it's complicated. Like there was I'll put it to you this way. There was a this was one of the in the comics that happened maybe like 4 to 5 years ago. They made this big thing about they were going to actually finally have them get married. And then they pulled out of it at the last second and people were fucking pissed. Yeah. I personally think that like they should be together. Like they should inevitably be together. But I think there's a lot of people where they don't have the imagination to understand or think about what their relationship is like. And so then they can only think of them being together as being constraining instead of being sort of opening up possibilities. Like I to me, the thing that comes to my mind is I would be very curious to see if they were like together permanently. What's Selena Kyle's relationship like with all of the Robins? That's interesting to me. Like, would they see her as a mother figure? Would they see her as an enemy? Do they think that she's going to betray him? Do they trust her? Do they maybe see her as another person who they can be confident in? Yeah, that's what's interesting to me.
Yeah, because it's complicated because she is not always a hero, and she's not supposed to be. She's never supposed to be the hero. She's always, and that's the thing, is I feel like Christian Bale and Hathaway's is he's trying to change her nature. He's trying to change complete, like clean slate. And to an extent that's what she wants, but that's not her nature at all. That's not her nature in the slightest. Like Zoe Kravitz and Robert Pattinson accept this is who one another are. And even Michelle Pfeiffer and Keaton's Batman and Catwoman accept this is who we are as people. Like, but I don't know. I just kind of feel it kind of just feels forced in The Dark Knight Rises the more I think about it.
Yeah. It's just the chemistry's not there. They don't spend enough time on it. And they just think, oh yeah, it's Batman Catwoman. Of course they're going to accept it.
Yeah. Again, it's another one of those things of, this is something familiar that you like. Eat it. It's like, but it doesn't taste good.
No, you got to actually sell me on it. You know?
Yeah, you have to sell me on it a little bit. It's like, oh, I'm sorry you lost all your money. And he's like, no, you're not. It's like, it's so fucking funny. Like, great.
Exactly. Yeah.
I also just think Anne Hathaway's cat suit is really boring. The more I think about it, too. I like her heels that are like knives or something like that. That's pretty cool. Yeah. But it's kind of just boring.
Yeah.
All right. Just a cat suit. What can you just...
I know, and especially because like they're trying to be so cheeky about it, where they don't want to do the they don't want to do the thing to like make it apparent that she's like kind of like a cat.
Yeah.
Because they want it to be realistic. So when she has those goggles or whatever, and they're up, and they're like a cat, like but that's so much more clever, right?
Is it though? No. Just make her Catwoman.
But like she's a cat burglar. that's where it came from, because she steals jewels and stuff. You know, all this
Bruce Wayne in the beginning of the movie.
That whole thing that happened with the Halle Berry one, where she got cat powers, or even, to be honest, even the Michelle Pfeiffer one, there's a whole kind of thing where she dies and the cats are eating stuff out of her mouth, like whatever the implication of that is. That stuff is not like really real. Like she doesn't have powers. She's just she's just a very skilled thief. That's it. Yeah, exactly. She's a skilled thief. You know. Yeah. But yeah, I thought that was so like kind of silly. Like, oh, so you need us to like have the little cat ears
without them,
as if we don't get it. Like, we get it. We get that she's Catwoman. She's a cat burglar. You don't have to like sell us on anything else.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Well, anyway, yeah. At some point, you'll see us talk about those films.
Eventually.
That'll be fun. But yeah, I guess the next thing, whenever it happens, we'll talk about The Hobbit: The Unexpected Journey, I believe is the first one. Yeah, and so yeah, there'll be a lot to talk about with those films too.
Yeah.
So until then, all right, thanks a lot, everybody, and may the Force be with you.
Live long and prosper.